There are many whites who are trying to solve the problem, but you never see them going under the label of liberals. That white person that you see calling himself a liberal is the most dangerous thing in the entire Western Hemisphere. He's the most deceitful. He's like a fox, and a fox is always more dangerous in the forest than the wolf. You can see the wolf coming. You know what he's up to, but the fox will fool you. He comes at you with his mouth shaped in such a way that even though you see his teeth, you think he's smiling. You take him for
Welcome to another episode or another stream, RBN Live. I'll get that moniker up in just a second, but RBN Live, I'm one of your hosts. We're going to have Sabi, we're going to have Nick, and possibly JB in this stream. But what's up, Nick?
What's popping, people? What's going on, friends, family? So you guys getting multiple Nick and CJs this week, it seems. Multiple RBN Lives as well. Because I always listen to community feedback, right? We know who's part of this community. And I hear from people all the time. They love seeing RBN hosts like converse with each other, us being on panels. So I always think it's a good idea. We're available to jump on. So hopefully you guys enjoy this show. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Sabi going to join us later. You guys saw her last night. She's been on fire, man. So she's going to join us here soon.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, this is RBN Live Part 1. There is another stream for the regular RBN Thursdays, which is the roundtable. I'll just say that's RBN Live Part 2, so you know there's two streams today. Right. So just so you know that there's two streams today, you know that this is Part 1, and you're going to get a double dose later on today. Now, there's a lot to cover. Now, quickly, let me just take this down, and I'm going to quickly just pop up the graphic. Nomiki decided to throw her hat into the ring of candidacy in New York. And also another story we're going to be covering is Breaking Points, just doing a deep dive into Breaking Points, just finding out the connections to the people that are a part of Breaking Points. May give you a pause when you call them independent media, in my opinion. So we have that story, but I got to put this graphic. This was the original graphic. I want to put it up because it's funny to me. Cosplaying leftist, runs for office. This is absolute clown shit. That was my first reaction.
Now you guys wonder why we've been going after the Majority Report now. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the announcement on Majority Report, but it was complete clown shit. It was complete definition of access journalism in the merging of independent media in the Democratic Party.
Right.
Which is the same thing we're supposed to be fighting against, right?
Right. And what Malcolm just spoke about, this is what the white liberal, but we need to update the phrasing. It's white progressive now because they've updated their name.
So CJ, I used to call myself the progressive martial artist. I literally deleted
Yes,
that.
I know.
I literally changed. I think you guys might know me back then. Back in my old YouTube channel, I was the progressive martial artist. I changed to Socialist MMA. No, I am not connected to you, embarrassing progressive. So I was like, no, I'm a fucking socialist. That's why I changed my name. A lot of you guys don't know this. A lot of you guys know me more now than back in my old YouTube channel days. But I'm like, no, I don't even want to be called a progressive no more. You guys are embarrassing.
Yeah,
I'm a socialist, straight up.
That name is securely theirs. Like literally, that name is securely theirs. It was like we were still using it to refer to us, but now it's securely in the liberal camp. Now leftists, they're trying to encroach on, and they're starting to use that too. So they're encroaching on leftists. Like the David Sirota tweets, when I went to his page and I saw it, he's talking to liberals, calling liberals out, and I'm like who the fuck is he talking to if he's not a liberal? It was so bizarre when I went to his page to read that though. But I do want to play this again because the overall sort of essence of this. Let me mute this because it looks like the chat is going to be popping right now. The overall, I think, concept of this stream, because we're going to be talking about people like David Sirota, like Breaking Points, like Nomiki. So I would say this is fitting that this is the white liberal, white progressive sort of episode, and Malcolm right here sums it up why they're so dangerous.
There are many whites who are trying to solve the problem, but you never see them going under the label of liberals. That white person that you see calling himself a liberal is the most dangerous thing in the entire Western Hemisphere. He's the most deceitful. He's like a...
Think about the white comrades we have. Do they call themselves progressives or liberals? They do not. They do not. They don't interchange those terms. It's almost like a derogatory term. Go ahead.
Look how they introduced Nomiki Konst on Fox News. We're gonna get back to her later. But
we're gonna get to that.
They introduced. We're gonna get to that. Like Nomiki Konst is the far left,
right?
The far left progressive. We were like, what?
You guys did you know she was a Bernie surrogate?
Yeah,
I had no idea.
She used to follow me. Like she used to follow.
I had no idea she was a Bernie surrogate because I didn't see her on MSNBC or CNN. But then I find all these clips from Fox News. I found like 7-8 clips of her throughout the years on Fox News, and I thought that was pretty weird.
Yeah. You guys, you must understand. A lot of these capitalists and imperialists, you guys think they're not like conniving and smart politicians. A lot of these people saw the rise of the Bernie wing, saw the popularity of Medicare for all, and then they're like, shit, let's ride this wave. And Nomiki Konst is an imperialist at her core, and we're going to show you guys the receipts of that. She's a hardcore Hillary supporting imperialist.
Oh, Lord.
So, but if you're running for office in the height of the Bernie wing, especially if you're a younger person, the smartest thing you can do is to ride that wave. And it's still clear that she's still pretending to be like, oh, I'm like the left, left representative of the Overton window. That's how she presented on Fox News. Meanwhile, compare how she is on the Overton window to almost anyone not on RBN, but everyone who even been on our shows. Like she's like, if we had her on the guest, she would be probably the most right-wing person we had as a guest this year. Yeah. So see how they change it, and we're gonna get to the receipts on her later. But I want to pass it back to you, CJ. So
could you imagine the comments? Like we could bring her on as a cooking show. And they wouldn't pay attention at all. In the comments, they'll be like, ask her about this, ask her about this. Could you imagine?
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, like how shamelessly right-wing she is. And I'm not saying that for nothing. Like she literally supported the destabilization of Libya, of Syria. But she'll call herself a progressive. These imperialists will call themselves progressives. Like you have people who cheer on the Cold War against China. Like we see Crystal Ball does with Tiger because she's influenced by Tiger. You are cheering on the new Cold War against someone who is challenging U.S. hegemony, but you are progressive? You see how they twist the Overton window, CJ?
Right. That's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing. And let's let Malcolm finish out so I can bring up the next video here.
Like a fox. And a fox is always more dangerous in the forest than the wolf. You can see the wolf coming. You know what he's up to, but the fox will fool you. He comes at you with his mouth shaped in such a way that even though you see his teeth, you think he's smiling. You take him for...
That is so spot on when you're talking about the Democratic Party, when you're talking about Joe Biden, I can just go on. It's so spot on when describing what's happening and what has happened with these people. Now, let me now play this other video. Unless you had a comment, I can bring it up. And if you wanted to...
The last comment I'll make on that video, and I'll pass it right back to you, CJ.
Yeah, go ahead.
I remember I made a ton of Bernie people upset, but a lot of people like what I said. That makes sense. Like I was explaining the concept. A lot of people are misunderstanding what we mean by the white moderate. So Joe Biden is not the white moderate MLK and Malcolm X warned us about. He is a hardcore, full-fledged right-winger. Like he is not the guy who disguising his allegiance, his loyalty. He's on the side of the white supremacist police state in the military-industrial complex. He is by no definition a white moderate, by any stretch of the imagination. He is the enemy that must be defeated. You want to know who the white moderate is? This hurt a lot of progressive feelings. The people like Bernie Sanders who pretend they are on our side, and then they fight against us during our defund the police movement. He say we believe in giant police funding. He scolded the BDS movement. Like these are the kind of things that they do. So that is who we are describing, the person who say they are on our side. and then they turn our back against us, like voting for the U.S. Domestic Terrorism Act, which is essentially the new modern version of the crime bill.
Yes.
In the Patriot Act. These are not right-wing attacks that we are lobbing at these people. These are literally votes and things they have done that literally expanded the white supremacist capitalist system that we are looking to dismantle as Marxists. That means you're the white moderator. But anyway, you can go ahead, CJ.
No, that's perfectly described. Just some of the stuff, I just got to be honest, some of the stuff, I'm not speaking on this video, but some of the stuff that's in the stream is shocking to me in all the information that Sabi uncovered, or not uncovered, but, you know, show me and us that we wasn't aware of, and you saw her stream last night. So we're going to be covering that, and she's going to be joining us in a little bit. But before I show this video, let's make sure we do a chat check, like check. Make sure you like this video. We have 190 people watching. Welcome. If you've never watched this before, give us a chance. I'm sure, even if you don't agree with us, you'll think that at least we give well thought out arguments, even if you do disagree with them. So stay tuned. So yeah, we have about 102 likes was the last time I checked. So we can get that to 175. Could we get 75 more likes? Also, join our Substack. You would have gotten an email notifying you of this stream. If you're part of our Substack, I send those out. And then I do send them out on some of the episodes, like some of the other members' episodes. It's just that I send them out later after they've been live. So I'll start doing that too for those that aren't sent out live. But join our Substack so you can do that. And also, we'll have your email if anything happens. If they shut us down, we'll be able to contact you and say, hey, you know, reach out to us over here. So please join our community. All right, so that is the housekeeping. Let's get back to the story here. Now, this video kind of talks a little bit about some of the things I was unaware about Nomiki. But let's listen and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Konst deployed originated from a bogus investment.
Actually, let me make sure you he's saying Konst. That's her. He's using her last name, Nomiki Konst. I thought it was Kunst, but he's saying it Konst. So when you hear that, that's who he's referring to.
Konst deployed originated from a bogus investigation published by the notorious disinformation shop called Bellingcat. This outlet has been funded by the UK Foreign Office and the National Endowment for Democracy, a CIA cutout created under the Reagan administration. An ex-CIA agent gushed about Bellingcat's role as a clearinghouse for US and UK intelligence, declaring, "We love this. Instead of trying to have things cleared or worry about classification issues, you can just reference their work." In other words, Konst smeared Jimmy Dore with a phony talking point that originated from a de facto CIA cutout. Very progressive. Konst also lashed out at journalist Max Blumenthal by falsely accusing him of going on a literal foreign interest-funded trip to Syria. So who is Nomiki Konst, and why does she sound like an intern for the Project for...
I have to stop it there because I just want to make sure what I saw is what I saw. This tweet here, let me make sure it's clear on the screen. This tweet says, "So I worked with Libyan women. Blumenthal literally went to Syria on a foreign interest dime last year."
That is what we call smear, ladies and gentlemen. Do you guys see what the Young Turks and these people do? They smeared Aaron Mate. They using the same tactics as Dick Cheney. What did they say? What did they say to people who questioned the Iraq War? What do they say about people who question our Afghanistan war? They all like, "Oh, you guys are terrorist sympathizers. You're a Saddam sympathizer." They are using the same tactics. And then people are confused when we call them out. I grew up under the George W. Bush era. I know these tactics when I see it. I literally seen Anna Kasparian and Nomiki Konst smear Aaron Mate and Max Blumenthal respectively, using the same arguments the Bush administration. Who's that lady who's on MSNBC now?
Nicole Wallace.
Nicole Wallace.
Yeah.
Always get them mixed up. They used to use the same tactic. Nicole Wallace, the liberal lover now. right?
Yeah,
She used to be a
can't
George
believe
W. Bush
that. That is just
propaganda.
crazy. That is just crazy.
She used to literally, they used to do the same argument that they use against the gray zone people, against the people who now been accurately since day one, like this channel has been doing, calling out the new Cold War in Ukraine, the proxy war that is stealing money from the working class. I'm going to report on this later, but Joe Biden had introduced a $360 million infrastructure package. Compare that to the $50 billion sent to Ukraine. 50 billion, 0.3 billion for us. So people on the left have been calling this out while they've been on defense, defending it. The people like Vosh, Majority Report, TYP, they've been on board because Bernie Sanders and the squad is on board. And then they smear us. They smear Aaron Mate, they smear Jimmy Dore, they smear everyone else who's against the Ukraine war as Putin sympathizers, right? That's the same, they're using the same tactics as the establishment. And she blocked Richard Medhurst. So I just see a comment, just say, I didn't know that. That explains everything. If you're an anti-imperialist, the people who are presented as the farthest on the Overton window on the left, Fox News will have her on. Their job is to be the attack dogs on the people who are actually calling out U.S. empire. The people who are actually who I would define on the left. I define left very low bar, anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist. By no definition, by my very low bar, are these people anti-imperialists. They're supporting NATO, the giant imperial structure that Lenin described as imperialism. Imperialism is the economic order. But sorry, CJ, I'll continue my thoughts later, but I don't want to rant too long. I'll pass it to you.
No, I mean you can keep going because we need this interjection of Marxist analysis because it's what I put on the screen. Nomiki Konst, I hope I'm pronouncing her name. I don't mean any disrespect by pronouncing her name. Is a what? I'm trying to figure out without being a conspiracy theorist or being I mean, I don't want to give a negative connotation to that because that is the whole point of that. But I'm just trying to figure out what is with all of these past connections, with all these like this history of what she has done. I'm trying to understand, is this just an ambitious woman or there's something else like going on here?
I can answer
what I'm trying to figure out.
And there's some people who take this as an insult. And if you take this as an insult, that says everything about you. To fill in that blank, Nomiki Konst is a Democratic Party operative. And when people say that, they're like, oh, you're accusing TYT of being Democratic Party operatives?
Yes.
You're accusing Nomiki Konst of being Democratic Party operatives? Guys, literally look up operation, what it means. If you are joining the side, if you're there to sheep herd people to the party, whether it means voting for you, voting for other candidates, you are a part of an operation. No matter what you want to say, I am operative of the Green Party. I am operative of socialism. I'm trying to get people to this side. The only reason being called a Democratic Party operative is considered a negative connotation because everyone knows you are inherently on the wrong side if you're doing that. Right. So when you say it hurts, like, oh my God, you saying he's a Democratic operative? Yes, because at the end of the day, you are killing revolutionary spirit that should be going to mutual aid, third party organizing at the farthest right. Like even I think even other things prioritize that. But even if you're gonna go electoral politics, at least support third parties, right? But they are there to kill that revolutionary spirit, drive people back to the right, and give them back to the Democratic Party under the guise of them shifting the party to the left. And we all know that did not happen. The exact opposite just happened.
What you just said, this is why this stream is so perfectly matched because that whole sentence could apply to the breaking points, in my opinion, also, where they're here to gather the non-establishment as we are non-establishment, but guarantee there's going to be very vagueness when it comes to third parties. There's no communists. How are you a left channel and you don't put communists, you don't put socialists on at all? It doesn't make sense. Let's pause here. Let me bring this down so we can introduce Sabi. What's up, Sabi?
Hello.
Awesome. Finally, we got Sabi in the stream together. So, Sabi, I don't know if you've been watching, but we've just been being surprised, or I have been being surprised by some of the stuff we're learning about Nomiki Konst, and we're playing a video now about talking about her connection to just all types of military weaponry. It's crazy. But your thoughts, or have you heard any, or have you seen any of it where you want to give an introduction kind of statement at all?
Yeah, Nomiki, she ran for office before. It was for like a lower position, but her mom was also a politician. And she was the one, if I'm not mistaken, she was the one who agreed with what was happening, the war that was happening in Libya.
Yes.
She supported the strike. Yeah. She's another one that's deeply into the Democratic Party because it's in her family. So this is stuff that I think people need to know, like why they have like the talking points that they have. And Ro Khanna actually just endorsed her.
Can you believe that? I'm gonna bring that tweet up because this is amazing. The connection that like it's almost like this was planned. Go ahead.
Do you mind if we share the video of her announcement on Majority Report first?
Yeah. If you have it,
context, and then we can dive
absolutely
into the endorsements.
Absolutely.
All right.
Do you have it? I have it too. I can go get it if you don't have it right there.
Oh, I can pull it up if you want. I can pull it up.
Yeah, it's like right. Go ahead,
I'm gonna play the video. I want to do it this way just so we can have the chronological order. So let's watch the announcement video of Nomiki announcing her campaign. And while this video plays, notice what Majority Report does not bring up. They're not going to bring up a very crucial fact about this race and strategy on behalf of Nomiki Konst that we're going to bring up here very soon, meaning that there's literally another DSA endorsed candidate in the race. But no, they're not going to bring that up. But anyway, let's watch the video. Oh, wait, sorry. I had to pull
yeah.
Here it is. Sorry, I pulled up the wrong tab. I got it. Here it is. My bad.
No worries. Hey, we got a lot of comments. Forgot to do the chat check. I'll toss some comments up as you're playing because I forgot to do the chat check earlier. So I'll start tossing some comments up.
Issues. It's been a day. But Nomi, my understanding is you have an announcement to make.
Me too. I would do this no other place but with our Majority Report family, who is so dedicated to not just national issues, but issues in local communities across this country. And I want to announce here that I am running for State Senate of New York in the District 59. It's a brand new district that encompasses the community I live in. And you may have heard about the redistricting issues that happened recently. Well, we found out about this district a little over a week ago, and I was approached by many people in the community who I've organized with and gone through many challenges and fights against big interests like real estate and the MTA together and Amazon. And I am announcing today that I am running for New York State Senate in 59 so that we can keep the New York State Senate that we fought so hard to make progressive, because we are at risk of losing one of the only legislatures in this country that is Democratic led and possibly the only truly progressive legislature.
It is. Very exciting.
So different.
Very exciting, he says. So I want to be clear, guys. I'm not enthusiastic about the strategy of taking over the Democratic Party. The point I am making is I'm telling you guys, these boutique leftists are leading you off the cliff. So even if you disagree with me, when I say I don't think we should take over the Democratic Party, let's say you agree with their strategy, they are still leading you off the cliff. Do you understand? So there's a progressive. I'm pulling the receipts. I don't know everything about her. There's another progressive who was endorsed by the DSA, who calls herself a socialist, who's running against. Isn't like Crowley's son.
Christine Gonzalez, is that her name? Christine Gonzalez.
I don't know because I tell you guys I'm not invested into these races, but I'm telling you guys, like, even if you are for this strategy, they are purposely playing spoiler. Now think about this, and I'll pass it to you, Sabi, because I want to hear your thoughts too. This is the same people, Nomiki Konst. I got a video I can show you guys here later, where they was arguing against forced to vote, and they were saying, well, the progressives, the problem with the left is they have no strategy. The left has no strat. The same people that was wagging their hands. Crowley's wife. Wait. Or Crowley's cousin. What Which one is it, chat? Get it right, goddammit. But anyway, the same people who's wagging their finger at the left for endorsing forced to vote, they were like, marching for America for all. What's the strategy? What's the strategy for you getting that done? General strike something. What's the strategy? The same people that's talking about strategy is now being completely incoherent in their strategy, and now they're gonna divide the vote to allow Joe Crowley's. What is he? How does this person relate to Joe Crowley? Like son, fucking something, right? You literally playing the spoiler candidate. Where's the fucking strategy in that? But Sabi, I will look at your thoughts.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's true. It's funny, too, because Jamal Bowman and Mondaire Jones, they were complaining about the fact that their district is one of the ones that's being redrawn, which means that Jamal Bowman and Mondaire Jones would have to go against each other, which means that's actually one less progressive that would be in the House because both of them can't win, right? But it's okay for Nomiki to jump in and run against the progressive for the New York Senate.
Wow. How they get away with this? You guys want to see this? You guys want to see this? This is what our good friend the show Zoya said. I mean, I remember this. They call us, and Nomiki is a staunch advocate of pushing red brown lines conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
He calls anyone, and I don't have a video saved, but I'm pretty sure I can find examples just by literally searching for it. Unless she blocked me, right? But she calls everyone red brown alliance. Everyone. If you march for conservatives for healthcare, red brown alliance. Meanwhile, this is okay for her. And it'll show you where she is and what her job really is and why the Republicans actually appreciate her. They bring her on Fox News to be their punching bag. She's the dummy that makes the left looks bad. Like she said, the GOP candidate and my BFF that never was. I got serious cross-aisle respect for Lindsey Graham.
But Nick, let me say this. But think about it. Think about that. Let me take that graphic off of there because I was using it last. So let me change that. But think about this. Oops. Sorry, I had my graphic on there. Can you put that back up there?
The tweet?
I was gonna. Yeah, that tweet.
I'll put it back up. Put it back up.
If you have it.
This here?
Yeah. So the point I wanted to make is, do you see why a person like this would not advocate for a third party? Do you see why they would come up with reasons after they've already made their decision because they want to be the next people who are in the halls of Congress for years getting millions of dollars from lobbyists? Do you see the connection? Do you see why they would not say, hey, let's get away with the Democratic Party in the majority report because they knew this candidacy was coming? Do you get all the connections of why they're not going to advocate for going outside of the Democratic Party? And they're all rich.
You want to comment on this? Zoya sent me this. I just want you guys to comment on this. Sabi, CJ. But look at this.
Wow.
Bread 2 network calculator.
Yeah.
This is why we love Zoya. She always had the receipts.
They need to put Crystal Ball up there for $44 million.
Oh,
and they need to add David Sirota for $7 million.
Damn. Do you guys think these people are the spokesperson of the working class? Does this look like the working class to you? I don't see one hint of melanin.
and if you watch Sabi's stream last night, she says it all. This is about class. They're trying to make it about something else. This is about class. If you notice, we have millionaires that's trying to tell the proletariat what to do. Try to say, hey, those other proletariat black people over there that's telling you not to do this, come on. It's ridiculous. And all the videos that or all the audio that Sabi had on her show last night, where David Sirota, I think we can play it today, where David Sirota is literally not showing any enthusiasm about this strategy, but it's trying to get all of us to buy into this strategy because it's really just income for him. It's really just a job for him.
And it's also about class because remember when we did our Sirota breakdown, and the same for Nomiki when we get into some of the other receipts we have saved on her. There's like this thing, right? And when David Sirota was talking about people who advocate for third party, let me see if I'm bringing it to. I want to show you guys the tone. Like here, look, and this is something I catch, right? Yeah, I'm gonna just put this. I'm gonna put my share up here. Real quick.
Go ahead, and then I'll put that.
I'm not gonna read. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but look at the end here. Well, actually, I guess I should read the whole thing. Hear me out here. Every voter who voted to remove Donald Trump from the White House is not complicit in the pathetic failings of Joe Biden. And if you argue that they are, they probably need to log off and reevaluate their cognitive capacity. You gotta always like, and whenever I see these people attack the left, there's always this level of condescension where it's not a disagreement, it's something wrong with your cognitive capacity. You guys think this is not related to classism? You guys see how it's immediately, there's something wrong with your cognitive, it immediately attacking the ableist angle, because if you're advocating against BreadTube, if you're advocating against these people, the millionaires, there's obviously something intellectually wrong with you. But meanwhile, they don't even want to have the debate, right? At least, once again, props to Jordan for at least having JB on. They wouldn't even have the discussion.
Yeah, that is one thing I will say about Jordan. He'll have people on that he doesn't agree with.
Right.
Yeah, good props for him for that.
Right. And the thing is, I think goes without saying, but I still will say it. Our critiques is never personal, but we are very, very direct with our tweets because we're advocating for our community. So just because we're very tart, it's not personal. Like I said before, like Jordan does good, work, but his opinions I don't agree with, and that's why I come after the opinions, because those opinions, if people believe that, that's hurting my community, and that's the point that I'm coming from, and I feel like RBN is coming from. But let me finish the video, unless one of you, Sabi or Nick, you had anything to say before I finish playing this video here.
Yeah, let's get to the video. I know you guys want to talk about breaking points.
Yeah,
let's get to the video to receive.
But this is all connected though, right? Sabi, do you think it's all connected? Like this is all about white liberals, white progressives trying to herd us back to the same problem. I'm sorry, I'm looking for my controls here. Okay, there we go. So let's just listen to this video. Let's listen to the video.
On a literal foreign interest funded trip to Syria. So who is Nomiki Konst, and why does she sound like an intern for the Project for a New American Century? According to her own bio, she not only helps coach Hollywood celebrity wannabes on public speaking, she's been an active participant in NATO's criminal destruction of Libya. That's right, self-described leftist Nomiki Konst spent time training the Islamist opposition in Libya after the NATO intervention that deposed Muammar Gaddafi and saw him murdered in the streets by jihadist proxies after drones attacked his motorcade.
Wow, it's been 2 years since this ND training with Libyan William activists, some of the founding mothers of Libya's government, after drone strikes attacked his motorcade. Absolutely. Wow, that's shocking to me.
Konst traveled to Libya thanks to the National Democratic Institute, one of the subsidiaries of the very same CIA cutout, the National Endowment for Democracy, that funds Bellingcat. The National Democratic Institute was directed at the time by Madeleine Albright, the militaristic former Secretary of State, who famously stated that she was perfectly fine with being responsible for killing 500,000 Iraqi children.
We have heard that 500,000 children have died. I mean, that's more children than died in Hiroshima. And is the price worth it?
I think this is a very hard choice, but we think the price is worth it.
When I called out Konst's U.S. government-sponsored regime change vacation on Twitter, she doubled down on her slander, demanding to know if I'd also lined my pockets with Bashar bucks. Full disclosure, I have never received money from Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian government, or any of its functionaries. And I don't know how getting...
Yeah, and they know they didn't. That's not the point. The point is to put the stuff out there. That's the same tactics, as I explained earlier, that Dick Cheney used. But Sabi, you want to chime in?
I was going to say, don't forget, too, Anna Kasparian also was friendly with Madeleine Albright.
You guys think that's a coincidence? You think it's a coincidence that Anna Kasparian...
This is the left media. This is the left media, Sabi. This is the left media. And do we wonder why the left is so terrible in America? Like,
yeah, that's why. Remember when I debated Destiny? He thought he was trying to trap me, and he thought it was a gotcha. He was like, "Well, if progressive policy is so popular, why aren't you guys getting gains? I said an answer he never heard. I was like, because the Bernie Sanders wings are fucking cucks. They suck. That's why we're not getting anything. Not because we're not strong. And he never heard that criticism before because he thinks that people like Nomiki Konst, like the average liberal, they think that this is the left. Like the people who got cool Madeleine Albright. Like, do you guys think that RBN would have ever scored an interview with her? Rest in peace. That will never happen. So you think it's a coincidence? And I'll pass it right back to you guys. But is it coincidence that Andy Kasparian gets that interview with Madeleine Albright, and then it seemed like, Madeleine Albright and Nomiki Konst is connected? Guys, it's a giant club. They're a part of it.
Sorry.
Tune in to the Fox debate on Sunday.
Sorry, I thought it was muted. Go ahead with your.
No, I'll finish my thought. I would love to see this video. Go ahead.
Yeah, so in searching and trying to just find when I put the little tweet out about help with receipts, I got a bunch of these videos. I didn't know just right in our backyard in our community, Case Study had all of these on lock. So I have, I'm not gonna play all of them, but I found like 7 videos. And my question before I play this video is, why is Fox News using Nomiki specifically so frequently? And he has videos from years ago, and I thought Nomiki was new. I thought she just burst on the scene 8-9 months ago. That's what I thought, and now I'm seeing all this old video footage of her at the UN, her over here in Libya. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And now they're the media heads of the left. Very suspicious to me. Very, very suspicious to me. But listen to this video where she's defending, I guess, something about AOC.
And Nomiki Konst, both of them. David, your thoughts on this, and what message do you think you want to directly send to AOC?
Well, tune in to the Fox debate on Sunday night, where you will meet a waitress who is now serving in the United States Senate with Kelly Loeffler. The great irony of all this, of course, is that every policy that Congresswoman advocates would make a waitress's life harder, less safe, and worse. And so why a waitress would want to support such policies, I don't get, but certainly given her firebrand style that now even some progressives are backing away from, it's not surprising she's trying to make headlines.
Nomiki, authenticity is... all right. I was just going to say, and I'll make it brief, authenticity is one of those things that people really respect and look for. I'll just put that out there. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're right, Harris. When most of our Congress members and senators are millionaires, and some of them hundreds of millions of dollars, I think that's the right question to ask. I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and people have not seen money come from the government in any way or form, and they're about to be evicted from their homes. In New York City alone, in October, 80% of small businesses could not afford their rent. So when we don't have a security system, security net of any sort, it doesn't matter if you can, scrap yourself together. You're not going to get out of this hole without some sort of federal response. And of course there's no federal response because the majority of our lawmakers in Washington are millionaires and completely out of touch.
So this video, to me, why I wanted to show it, was less about the content and more about the framing. Now, if you notice, Fox News, everybody involved in the duopoly are invested in the Overton window being in a certain place. Nomiki is brought on as the leftist person, the AOC representative. So there's a lot of AOC pushing and a lot of Nomiki pushing. So we understand. So the narrative understands, and the people who follow the blue-red game will understand. This is what's left. Anything we say then is so crazy. You get what I'm saying? This is the boundaries. And I mentioned this in the DM. If you notice, I'm infusing breaking points here. If you notice on breaking points, they have the Overton window in the same place as corporate media. They don't have any socialists. They don't have any communists on that list. They have the same Overton window, and you're a left media outlet.
You saw their black. You saw their black representation, right?
I'll take that off. I'll take that off.
Yeah, well, it's funny too, because at the same time, you also got to remember Crystal Ball also ran for Congress, and she pocketed PAC money, and I don't see a lot of people question her about that. That's why she only go on certain shows.
Nomiki was caught doing the same thing.
Yeah,
she was accused of mishandling, aka misusing the money that she got through her campaign. There is a person who he accused her of mishandling campaign funds, and then she lobbed a Me Too accusation at him.
Yep.
And that's how she handled it. She smeared him. So that's who Nomiki Konst is. I got another video because I'm gonna show you guys her role on this. This is during Forced to Vote. You guys can see she was in opposition of Forced to Vote. So let's watch the video. Let's speak for itself. And I would love to get your guys' reaction.
We have very little leverage right now, and the leverage we do have should be used carefully and thoughtfully, and definitely not against our allies. Friend of our show,
Can you replay that? It's an echo. There's an echo. Can you play that again?
My bad.
We have very little leverage right now, and the leverage we do have should be used carefully and thoughtfully, and definitely not against our allies. Friend of our show, Andrea, has this new YouTube channel. You got to go check it out.
These are fascists being funded by fascists to enable.
Yeah,
I must point out, by the way, Nomiki Konst, who calls everyone red, brown lions. This person who called everyone a fascist, this person was a Nazi literally like 3 years ago.
Yep.
That's a long story. We explained it many times. This Andrea person, one thing I do say, if renouncing those views, good for you. I don't give you a
catch me up on what you're saying. This person's name is Andrea.
I don't want to hijack the segment too much, but the reason why David Doe and Mike Figueredo blocked me, because them and Nomiki Konst were propping her up while she was smearing leftists and black activists who was calling her out for her past. Because literally during the Trump era, back when A1 used to call Trump a white supremacist, she literally was a Nazi during the Trump era. And the reason why she turned to the left is because she became a trans person. And then the people who was racist and who didn't like her disapproved of her being trans. So then she went to the left. And then she didn't make a formal apology. She was using like the N-word with the hard ER all the time.
She was calling
pictures of her hanging with Nazis, giving Nazi symbols. And this person is calling people who supported Forced to Vote fascists. Nomiki Konst called Jimmy Dore red, brown lions. They call us red, brown lions. Meanwhile, they're literally friends with people who was Nazis when Trump was president. And David Doe and Mike Figueredo had the audacity to block me just for bringing up the hypocrisy. Because I was like, bro, you guys smeared Jimmy Dore for having the Boogaloo Boy on, and he says he's anti-racist. But then you guys have someone who was a Nazi on, and then she said she's anti-racist. You guys are doing the same thing. And that's literally what I said, right? And then they can't handle that. I just want to sum it up quickly there, because I don't want to hijack the whole segment. I just want to let you guys know who they're friends. These are the people. These are the boutique left people that we see destroy the U.S. left and lead us off a cliff. So I'm gonna start the video over. I just want to let you guys know who this person was. And then she calling other people fascists. Anyway, oh yeah, by the way, she has like everyone, all the black Marxists on Twitter. She has blocked because we were demanding answers, and instead, Paula, she blocked us also.
We have very little leverage right.
Oh wait, sorry, I gotta turn my audio off.
Right now, and the leverage we do have should be used carefully and thoughtfully, and definitely not against our allies. Friend of our show, Andrea, has this new YouTube channel. You got to go check it out.
These are fascists being funded by fascists to enable fascism. And then we have this fucking weirdo. So AOC, this is at 8 p.m. After pipe bombs were discovered at the U.S. Capitol, this dumb motherfucking fascist goon decided to mock AOC, who was currently at this point barricaded in an office, scared for her life, because Republicans, at the behest of some of the Forced to Vote people, know that AOC is an enemy. The reason is because they want to kill her. This person, JV Graz on Twitter, they've got like 30,000 followers or something, right? This person has been enabling a smear campaign against AOC, saying AOC is evil, saying AOC is a scumbag, and AOC is single-handedly in the way of our healthcare. After the fascists try to kill her and the rest of the members of Congress, he applauds the fascists and mocks AOC. These are not leftists. These are not organizers. These are not socialists. These are not communists. These are not tankies. These are Nazis.
I thought this is what we've got to hear right now, because the line is drawn. It is extremely clear what is at stake and what we are facing. It was crazy, man, and I'm just angry because they can't do that. Like, they work for us, yeah. And I'm like,
that's talking down to the proletariat. That's what that is.
I'm not even.
That's them talking down to the worker. That's them saying, yeah, this is your rationale. You're just saying, yeah. That's not at all what workers are saying. That's
I want to give you guys a chance to respond. I want to get Sabi in here before we finish the video, because that's a lot to break down. We'll go ahead, Sabi.
Yeah, well, the woman that came in at the end is a part of TYT, FYI.
Yeah,
so all these people, like, they all like run together. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was Nico. I think Nico was the one that exposed Andrea for being a fraud.
Yep. They had a debate and Nico fucked her up.
Yeah,
Nico exposed her.
There's something off about this person. There's something a little bit off. So he was the one that revealed who she really was.
And look at what she's doing. She's defending AOC, the politicians from the mean organizers. And that's the reason why I explained her Nazi past. Because look at the hypocrisy. You literally was a Nazi, I think at this point, 4 or 5 years ago. Literally, we got the receipts, motherfucker. There's screenshots all over Twitter. If you guys are curious, literally just look up Andrea, N-word. You guys will find the receipts. This person is calling people who are advocating for forced to vote. And their crime is criticizing AOC.
Yep.
And they say people are fascists and Nazis for doing that. And this is who Nomiki Konst allied with. And Nomiki Konst gave this psychopath a platform. Now you guys understand why RBN needs to call these people out. Unfortunately, as it is right now, they still got a bigger platform than us. We're growing, but it hasn't been us influencing the left. It hasn't been us having the microphone lean us off a cliff, the working class off the cliff. It's been these people.
Yep.
Let's finish the video, and I'm gonna rewind it just a little bit and then finish the video, because I didn't like this video is wild, man. Like, this is the height of shit liberty, smearing activists, defending politicians, and they're like, oh, and then remember that the TYT person was literally mocking the idea that politicians work for us. What does that say? Well, AOC, unlike Chuck Schumer, unlike Mitch McConnell, unlike fill in the blank, Nancy Pelosi, any corporate or Republican, right? They take money for corporate cash, right? The progressives take money from working class people. So the idea that they ignore working class people, isn't that worse than if Joe Manchin ignores you? Joe Manchin, like, if you vote for me, sorry, that's your fault. You're a dumbass. I am open about the fact that I don't work for you. But meanwhile, they take our money and then they mock the idea that they work for us. Do you guys see the classism? Anyway, sorry, let me finish the video. I'm done.
Right now, because the line is drawn. It is extremely clear what is at stake and what we are facing. It was crazy, man, and I'm just angry because they can't do that. Like, they work for us, yeah. And I'm like, wow, how much Jimmy Dore you been watching, bro? I'm not even joking. That is the level of analysis and intellectualism that some people who purport to be on the left are floating to us to digest. It's just, I'm angry. I don't know, elites. Like, it is so two-dimensional and so transparent and actually hella right-wing. Sorry.
See how the smears come in? This is what they do. They try to make it seem like it's a Jimmy Dore / TYT divide, but it's really a class divide. And they don't want to talk about the class issue because if they have to talk about it, then they have to talk about themselves. They have to talk about where their money's coming from. And most of them are wealthy.
That is the quality analysis that you're getting on the TYT orbit. You're right wing if you have the audacity to advocate forcing a vote on one of the most popular policies, healthcare, in the middle of a pandemic. Advocating for putting that on the floor vote makes you right wing. This is the level of analysis that you get from TYT, Nomiki Konst, and the boutique left. Are we clear about why we go after these people now?
Which, by the way, I do want to add, Nick, for people who don't know, the force the vote strategy comes straight from the DSA handbook.
Yes.
Under the Medicare for All chapter.
Yes.
So you have people like AOC and Jamal Bowman who are members of DSA. They should have been doing that strategy regardless if it was on Jimmy Dore's channel or anyone's channel.
I see it as a made up reason. Like I said earlier, they come to the conclusion they don't want to do it, and then they make a reason. Like if Jimmy never got in it, they would have said something else. If something else came up, this and that, they would have came up with every reason. So that's how I look at it. Now this video, I'm playing this to show how important it is for Fox News to describe her in this way every time. Like 80% of the time she comes on the show, they describe her this way.
Nomiki Konst, former national surrogate for Bernie Sanders and host of the Nomiki Konst Show on YouTube. You know,
two questions I have. If you go on Fox News that has the most viewers and you keep shouting out her show, if they keep shouting out the Sabi Sab show or the RBN show or Populist Voice, if they keep shouting that out, you know how many people we would get? But who would be the listeners and the viewers? Who would those people be? Go ahead, Sabi. I see you.
I was gonna say, bingo. That's that's the thing. That's why you only see her on certain like channels.
Right. I have never literally. Maybe she's been on CNN and MSNBC, but I can pull up literally 15 videos just from Case Study where it's just her, and it's over like a span of 2 or 3 years. And I don't understand, why do they keep bringing her on? They keep using the Bernie Sanders because they want her audience to understand, Bernie Sanders, this is her girl. So they understand her as the left. So anything she says. So if this left person says, no, NATO needs to do this, you see how it works for the narrative for Fox News also. So that's why it's important for them to describe her in this way. I could play the whole video. Let's see what she says about Joe Biden here. I didn't watch the whole thing.
I've been curious if more progressives, far left leaning, are regretful now for having backed him. Nomiki, you were a surrogate, a very high profile one, talking for Bernie Sanders. We saw you out there all the time on this program. He's quite loquacious, by the way. And I can't imagine him going this long without a solo news conference. So any regrets in throwing
I don't know if the press could have handled that.
Joe Biden?
I mean, listen, a free and open press is obviously what we want, a presidency that has a good relationship with the press. I wish Mark was as upset when Donald Trump and Steve Bannon called the press the opposition party in the first days of his presidency, and of course kicked out mainstream rational press and brought in conspiracy press to set up the kind of circumstances that he wanted. I wish that outrage was with the Republicans at that time. It's not like Biden inherited the biggest crisis in 100 years. It's not like he's had to deal with a pandemic and getting vaccines out and the economy and passing a $1.9 trillion package and working with Congress. It's not like he's had a lot of things to do or something.
All right. You didn't answer that
I'm glad that
question,
I'm glad that he's doing it.
But
now, you see how they describe our analysis? How would you describe that analysis?
But every time she goes on Fox News, she defends Joe Biden. She always brings up Trump. And I've criticized her for doing this as well. They'll specifically ask her about policies that Joe Biden's doing right now, whether it's inflation or whatever. And she'll always defer back to Trump. And there's been a couple of times where that host, I think that's the Faulkner Report host, she'll interrupt her and say, but we're talking about Joe Biden right now. We're not talking about Donald Trump. So Nomiki's role again, is to make people think that regardless, the Democratic Party is still the better or the lesser of two evils, even though she was Bernie Sanders' surrogate. If you really want to get someone on that was close to Bernie Sanders and heavily involved in his campaign, why don't you see them bring on Breonna Joy Gray as much as they bring on Nomiki Konst? Because they know that Breonna Joy Gray isn't going to be as easy for them to win a debate over. It's easy for them to win a debate over Nomiki because she says stupid things when she goes on there.
That is such a great point, and it also speaks to why we see what we see on their channels, like what we see on Nomiki's. You never see them talking to a communist. Have they ever do they bring on communists to talk to them about this stuff? Like, you never see them bring on somebody who's to the left of them. They're always trying to keep that Overton window like right in the same place.
They not bring on communists or socialists. They don't even bring on the gray zone. They don't even bring on. You never see Aaron Mate on. You never see these people on debunking their imperialism, right? They bring the Nomiki Konst on, the left imperialists who agree with them on all the U.S. empire. That's why when asked about Joe Biden, she quick to deflect to Trump, because our criticism will immediately be like, guys, why are we playing this red-blue game? You guys know that Biden is just like Trump. Trump and Biden believe in the same thing. Wake up. We need a general strike. Stop playing the red-blue game. That is the shit that we would say on the show. Well, Nomiki Konst would say on the show, like, oh, well, actually, Biden not as bad as Trump. All you gotta do is worry about Trump because she's playing the red-blue game. She's not here to win people over. She's just here to present the theater that they want, the divisiveness that they want.
Yeah, they're not going to bring on. I was going to say they're not going to bring on people that are anti-imperialist like the Gray Zone. That's why you don't see the Gray Zone on shows like Crystal Kyle and Friends. You don't see them on Breaking Points. You don't see them on Majority Report, because the guys at the Gray Zone, they're saying the exact opposite of what those shows are saying. Those shows are making excuses for intervening in China if need be. They're making excuses for Ukraine with this whole Russia-Ukraine conflict. And people like Aaron Mate, who have actually been there and they've been on the ground, they have that firsthand experience. So they don't want those people to come on to tell their audience, actually, guys, this is actually what's going on the ground over there in Syria and in Ukraine. And this is how this conflict actually started. They don't want those people on because they don't want their audience to hear that type of rhetoric. They want their audience to think it's okay to be pro-imperialist. And that's what all of those that I talked about part of this last night, all of those channels that Breaking Points added, that's the thing. They're preaching like pro-imperialism. They're making excuses for intervening in other countries. Whereas before, if you would have gone back like 5-6 years ago, would Secular Talk have told you to do that? No, but he is now. They're all the same.
That's such a great point. This tweet, because since you said brought up, or Max Blumenthal was brought up, I knew I had this tweet set, and this is what his reaction was. Proud to have played a role in bringing Ro Neokana and NATO Nomiki together to fight for progressive causes. And then he shows this here, which is a tweet that was, Rokana sent out this tweet that says, the far left's refusal to condemn the immoral and illegal Putin invasion is appalling. It is nihilistic relativism. I stand by my words in this exchange and reject Max Blumenthal. Retweet talking points where he's a contributor. I have a human rights progressive approach to FP. And then Nomiki quotes him, and then I'll let you two comment. Nomiki tweets him and says, at what point is Congress going to look into these paid propagandists here to disrupt the left and push fascist conspiracy? Some of the funding has showed up on tax returns being funneled through journalist awards by Assadis. These guys are toxic and spreading disinformation. This is about Max Blumenthal. And I never stood, and this is to Sabi, to your point, I never understood like the visceral reaction they have for people like Aaron Mate and Max Blumenthal until you just sort of articulated it. It's because the very thing that they're here to do, which is sort of feed people to the left, but not make sure they never go to communism, one, and make sure they always keep that foot in war, right? And what is Aaron Mate and Max Blumenthal about? Tearing down that facade of what's happening. That is so key, and explains the high level of animosity towards reporters. It's just bizarre to me.
This is why it's absurd to believe that they are a hostile wing of the Democratic Party. The idea that they want to sell you that we reject is the idea that Nomiki Konst is going to get elected, the progressives are going to be elected, and they're fighting the Democratic Party establishment. Like, do anyone really believe that? Now, why do they go after Max Blumenthal and Aaron Mate? Why do they smear people out of Russian access? Why do they do the same thing with Syria? I'm talking about Nomiki and the entire TYT orbit. The reason why is because Bernie Sanders, AOC, and the squad voted for $40 billion in Ukraine.
Right.
You guys think it's a coincidence that they are always in lockstep on these issues? You guys never have a small disagreement? You guys never disagree with the Justice Democrats? They are an operation that is the PR wing of the Democratic Party. They're like, oh, we are young, we are progressive, we are changing the party, even though we are sending $40 billion to Nazis, even though Joe Biden is funding more genocide, even though he literally increased Medicare costs just now. I'm going to report on that here later. Like he doubled down on all the right-wing policies in our country, but they are there to let you guys know, oh, we are here to reform the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is not unsalvageable. And at the same time, they will not disrupt U.S. empire. They will sheep herd people to support U.S. empire. That's why Voss, TYT, and their entire orbit have been repeating Putin derangement syndrome propaganda, because they are there to justify what the elected progressives will do with their imperialism. That's why Nomiki has to go on the offensive first. She had to smear Max Blumenthal and Aaron Mate as Russian puppets first before we debunk their Ukraine narrative. And then we did. And now they can say, oh, see, they're Russian assets. The same tactic that Dick Cheney used. Right?
Yep. No, it's true. They all do it. And then it's like, if you're not really paying close attention, like when people say, why don't you guys bring this person on? Why don't you go on this show? And I'm like, listen to what we talk about and listen to what they talk about. You think they're going to let us come on their show and tell their audience, fuck this shit. We need a general strike. We need a general strike. Both parties are corrupt. Leave the two-party system. Oh, God, no. No,
they'll never have us on because we would say something like that. And that's also the reason they'll always have Nomiki, because they know she'll never say anything like that. They know she'll never say revolution. They know she'll never say general strike. They'll know she'll never say, well, this capitalism thing is just not working out for people. Like, they know that she'll never say that. And that's why I believe they bring her on Fox News. I think we're kind of done with this story and maybe move. It's not like we're moving to a completely different topic, though. So if you have something else, Nick or Sabi, you want to share on the same thing, we want.
This is literally the last thing we had to say, because this is the receipt. I said this earlier. I just wanted to share it, and this has been well known. Just a heads up, I worked on Nomiki Konst's last election. I reported her to the CFB for stealing $100,000 in public funds. So she made up a Me Too allegation against me, upending my life and scarring everyone else that worked on the campaign from talking. If you report on my campaign corruption, we will destroy you by any means necessary.
Crystal Ball did the same thing when she was called out for pocket and PAC money too. She tried to do a Me Too allegation.
So that's the last thing I said on the story. I think that says everything about it, right?
Wow, that was a lot to drop at the end there. You know, I didn't necessarily know all of that.
I mentioned it earlier. I didn't have the receipt on hand. I mentioned it earlier, but you guys know what we do on like other shows. I try to back up everything I say. Everything I say, I have a receipt for. I can back up. I said it earlier, so I wanted to share the receipt just so you guys know I'm just not making shit up. So.
Yeah, I gotta start doing that, sharing receipts. You and Sabi are good at that. I just be like, fuck this. This is it. Believe it or don't. I gotta start doing that. Frankly, sometimes I don't have the time. With my little girl is like so.
Yes, she did. Look at the comment.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
That's their playbook, isn't it? It seems like. Which is a shame because that does a tremendous amount of damage to the people who have serious allegations.
Right.
Whenever you guys see these people politicizing it, which is why we got to condemn it. You guys are hurting that movement, and this is coming from many of my feminist allies to call these charlatans out. Like you can't turn that into a political game like they're obviously doing, right? It just hurts the movement and make people less likely to believe people who truly have non-political allegations that should be taken seriously, right? But anyway, I'll back to you guys.
Absolutely. And then I guess we should also mention the person she's running against. We should also probably add that dynamic, which is we did mention her name briefly. Christina Gonzalez is running. You saw her on the graphic. I guess I can pop it up really quick. You can see the graphic there right here on the bottom right in the green jacket. Christine. So she is already running. She's a Democrat. She's the Socialist Democrat, DSA member. AOC endorsed her. There's actually video out. I don't know if I have it. I don't want to pull it up. There's actually video out where AOC came out. She's in a white little, dress, business outfit in this video, and she's talking about the candidacy. This happened already, and then to have this redrawing of the district because of some court case, I believe, and now this where but it's funny because there's what's his name, Sean Patrick something that's over the DNC. He's doing the same thing to Mondaire Jones. You have these two white candidates who already have people of color. Now, we're not advocating electoralism, but it's just interesting that they advocate for people of color, and both of them are willing to just swoop in and take these people of color off the map. What did both of you? I'll start with you, Sabi. What did both of you think of that, or did you report on that particular point also?
I talked about the whole Mondaire Jones thing, but what I want people to know is when they say they want people of color, they want a certain type of person of color. They don't want a progressive person of color. They want someone like a Jim Clyburn, right? They want someone like a Chantel Brown. They want someone like a Bakari Sellers, someone that's going to support Israel, someone who's not going to support Palestine, someone who's going to be okay with taking corporate money, someone who's going to toe the establishment line.
Terrible. So, we have your video up next, Sabi. You want me to bring it up, or do you want to bring it up? I don't know if you would rather control when to stop and start it. That's why I'm asking. But I do have it ready if you don't mind me doing it.
So I'm gonna allow you guys to do the. I know I talked about this earlier. I'm gonna allow you guys do the breaking point. I think CJ and Sabi, I think it'd be good for you guys to do this breakdown.
Yeah,
I'll be back. I'll be back on the next RBN live. I'll be back at 5. So I'll let Sabi and CJ do this. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so this issue, Sabi's been leading on this issue. We've both been talking about the issue, but Sabi's been leading on this issue. And it's connected to David Sirota. And maybe, it's kind of started with him. But then Breaking Points announced this sort of partnering with some people. David Sirota and his podcast is one of them. And that got us, or at least me, and just kind of looking into Breaking Points more and just finding out more about their background. But after Sabi's stream last night, a lot of my eyes were opened up even more. So I'll pass it to you, Sabi, if you have it queued up anywhere you want to start it. Yeah. But I'll pass it to you. Go ahead.
I can share it. I'll start with I'm skipping the audio part, but I'll start with the part where I start showing the receipts. So I start with actually what he said during Force the Vote, which I just want to remind everybody of. So let me see. Let's go away from this. I'm going to show you some receipts. We can talk about this. We can be on this audio all night. We really can. But I need to show you some receipts because there's something about David that's really suspect. So let's go back in time. Let's remember David's position about Force the Vote. Let's go back to that. Let's go back to David holding politicians accountable.
What that is. And so we brought him on the show, and there's a big controversy. I don't know if you saw the show, but we heard him saying that he was not willing to sacrifice Nancy Pelosi losing her speakership. He was not going to play that game because Nancy Pelosi would let Kevin McCarthy become speaker. Here, he says it here. Here we go.
Nancy Pelosi, I think ultimately at the end of the day, if you really demanded that she actually do something on Medicare for all, it was a choice between letting Kevin McCarthy become Speaker of the House, which would be a very bad thing, or doing something real on Medicare for all.
That was a lie. That was already debunked that Kevin McCarthy would not become Speaker of the House. Now, David Sirota is a journalist. He didn't do his research before he came on Jimmy Dore and spewed that lie. What is his role in all this? What is David Sirota's role? I believe his role was to keep you in the two-party system in the Democratic Party. He went on there and he lied. Listen to Okay, CJ, so I'll fast forward to the part where Ryan Grimm actually came on and debunked what David Sirota said. So that was good for on Jimmy's part. He had both of them on. Okay.
So she has to go to the House floor and she has to get 218 votes.
Right.
And Republicans aren't going to vote for her. And so if she can't get 218 Democrats, then there's no speaker.
Right.
And then it kicks back to the caucus, and then it's chaos, and then a whole bunch of people can run, and then somebody will emerge. Somebody would emerge from that process, who would then also need to unify the party and say we need 218 votes to get to the House floor. So she won it in the caucus, but she has to get through the process because.
All right, I'm not going to go too far into this because Okay, CJ, I want to get your take on that before I go to the other receipts.
I'm starting to think. We have to ask ourselves this question, Sabrina, and that is did David Sirota really not know the process, or did he intentionally come on to a platform where he knew there were literally millions of people possibly that could see it, or 1 million people that possibly can see it, and he said, hey, let me just put this little nugget of disinformation out, what they call this lie out to this audience, knowing that it's a lie. It's no way that David Sirota did not know that. So then that brings me to the question, Sabrina, the question you posed in the video, which is, what is the angle of this person? And the pairing with the breaking points, and also Nomiki, we're finding all these these connections, Sabi, of all of these just shady things where we're supposed to overlook. It's too many coincidences. I said this in a DM, Sabi. There's just too many coincidences.
It's too many of it. I'll show you the other ones about David really quick. So here's the money aspect, how much he made in Bernie's campaign. I'll show this part really quick. Financially. Let's pull up these numbers. Now, this is the report from the Federal Election Commission, the FEC. This is not something I'm making up. You can look this up yourself as well. These are all the disbursements. Look at that, 12,000, 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. It goes on and on and on and on. This was during Bernie 2020. I can actually increase this. Let's go to the max, which is 100, going all the way down. I did the math on my end, so I wouldn't make you guys sit through all of that. David Sirota made over $150,000 off of Bernie Sanders' campaign. That's just the Bernie part. That doesn't include all the other financials that he makes. He also works for Hollywood. He also has his own network that he started as well. So that's another piece, CJ, is that, and I want people to understand too, when it comes to the Hollywood part, some people think this is the first, job he had for Hollywood, that movie Don't Look Up. He's been working for Hollywood. He's been writing scripts and stuff for Hollywood. So it's very That's a lot of money, CJ. That's in 1 year, by the way.
Right. And that's what I wanted to say about the money. Like, think about that, Sabrina. Think about, why would he say, hey, let me promote something that's not going to get me $150,000 from a campaign? But do as I'm speaking to our audience now, do you see why they would not want to promote? Do you see why they would find a rationale against third parties? Do you see why they would find a rationale against doing direct action? A rationale to keep going back to the same well that's not producing the water that we need? But these connections, and I'll pass it back to you after this comment, these connections, Sabrina, to me is illustrating the new way that the ruling class is going to present the same propaganda. And that is through independent media. This is the way to do it. You just get a bunch of people who were, quote unquote, formerly independent, formerly corporate media, formerly a part of the establishment. Like, how do we know they're formerly? They're just telling us that.
Yep.
Formerly part of the establishment that's coming together to form this independent. And how do we know they're independent? Maybe they've shown all of their members and how much each member is making. They're just telling us they're independent. And I'll pass it back to you, Seth.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, it just, again, like, I'll get to the breaking points part in just a second, but this is another one from David Sirota that's really troubling. And I did not know about this until this week. Now, this goes back to 1999. You know, David, you got some explaining to do. I told you there was something off about David Sirota. Did you know that David Sirota was actually involved in a race baiting website for campaign back in Philadelphia? New Sanders aide apologizes for role in race baiting 1999 website. Now, this news broke in 2019. David Sirota, who is Bernie Sanders announced this week would be joining as his campaign speechwriter, was hired by the senator for a different job 2 decades ago. Let's go down here where it says 1999. In 1999 mayor race in Philadelphia, Sirota was tied to a fake website apparently intended to scare off white residents from voting for a black opponent. I'm not making this up myself. Eric, if you want, you could put the link to this article in the chat so people can read the whole thing. I don't have time to go through the whole thing, but there are parts that I do need to highlight. And if he tries to come back and say that this did not happen, here's the statement from him right here. I deeply regret being involved in this whole incident. There you go. I'm absolutely ashamed that it happened, and I have felt genuinely terrible about this for 20 years. Even though I was a junior political staffer, I should have known better and certainly do today. Really doesn't matter if you were a junior political staffer, David. You want to talk about morals? You knew that shit was wrong. Let's go on. Sirota was the deputy campaign manager for Dwight Evans, a candidate in the 1999 Democratic primary for the mayor of Philadelphia. So David's involvement with the Democratic Party, this go all the way back to the 90s. He's been deep in the Democratic Party. Let's go back in. The site, which was made to look like a page of Evans' rival, John White, featured a comment White made in large letters. Here's what the comment said. The black and the brown, if we unite, we're going to control this city. Now, here's the problem. White's campaign said his statement was taken out of context and that he meant that African Americans and Latinos could achieve more political power if they worked together. Now, listen to this part. The revelation that Sirota was linked to a race baiting website comes as Sanders is trying to make inroads with middle-aged and older African-American voters who he failed to win over in 2016. So you see how something like this hurt Bernie's campaign with black people? You see, it's making a little bit more sense now, right? Right. Let's go back down here. Evans, who is also African-American, was seen as competing with white to win over white voters. Evans said at the time that Sirota was in his early 20s, had been overzealous. He called the bogus website Dirty Tricks. The site was registered to the address of Robert Richmond, a friend of Sirota who lived in Massachusetts. Evans believed that Sirota had not made the website himself, but discussed it with Richmond. I found out they were basically talking to each other and one thing to another. Now listen to this. At the time, Sirota denied any direct involvement. Did you guys hear that? At the time when he was accused, he said he had no direct involvement. And Richmond also initially claimed that he was not involved. But then when he was busted, he came back later on and issued an apology right here. I deeply regret being involved in this whole incident. So again, who is David?
That is so shocking, Sabi. That is so shocking. Now I mean, good that I watched this last night, so that you didn't get my initial reaction when I saw this, because now we all like Nick said earlier about the person who is no longer a Nazi and now is a lefty. Yeah, it's great that you grow and you're not that, but we have to be told this, because do we think his thinking at that time, where did that come from? Out of the air? Or was it part of the culture? Was he taught this, or was this him? And how do we know he's grown out of that and he just hasn't learned how to keep it covered?
Yep.
I'll pass it to you, Sabrina.
Okay, so here's the next one. And this one is about, this one's about AIPAC. But it's kind of suspicious when you be deleting stuff that you put out there for the world to see. So now this was fairly recent. Now this was shared by Blake Flayton. He said the grand finale. This is from David Sirota. I worked at AIPAC for a few months after graduating college. It's a terrible organization that is ruining the world. For those ready to tweet that I'm anti-Semitic, I'm Jewish, F you. This tweet has been deleted. Why you delete the tweet? I don't trust this dude. Like this is look, I know AIPAC is a horrible organization. At the time, he may not have realized that. Later on, he did and left. AIPAC is an organization that's been pouring in big money to stop the progressive candidates from winning against these corporate Democrats. But why did you delete it? Let's go to number 4. This one's troubling. Now, this was something I was not aware of for a while, but this is on his own website. Let's scroll down here. And if you go down to where it says previous political work, this one is really suspect. I'm going to make this a little bit larger. Previous political work. He also worked at the Center for American Progress.
Oh my goodness.
Now, what is wrong with the Center for American Progress? Again, this is from his website. Let's look at the Center for American Progress. I'm telling you, he's been deep in the Democratic Party. You can't just look at him as though he was just Bernie's speechwriter. This goes deeper than that. The Center for American Progress. This is the same organization that Neera Tanden was the president of. Now, what was wrong with Neera Tanden? Oh boy. She is committed, a public servant, having served in the administrations of President Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and a longtime advisor to Hillary Clinton. What? We all know Neera Tanden, she's suspect. She's problematic. And I've told you guys before, the Center for American Progress, they supported Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
David Sirota had one foot on the corporate Dem side, and he had one foot on the progressive Dem side. He was trying to play on two teams. CJ,
That's also shocking. Yeah, that's also shocking. I didn't know that he worked for the Center. The Center for the the Center for American Progress is a DNC cutout. That's who they are. Yeah. They pretend to be something else, but that's a DNC cutout. I mean, and if you're part of our audience, you know who Neera Tanden is, and just the disgusting sort of work that she has done in the past and maybe continue doing, and worked for the Hillary camp, has been trained by Hillary. I would say is like a Hillary sort of trainee. That's shocking. And it goes to this also, Sabrina. It speaks to the same thing I was saying. Do we think all of this history has been washed away and now he's just taken up on these leftist views, liberal leftist views, I'll say? It feels like more of he's keeping all of these same views that he's been trained in by being a part of the Democratic establishment, and he's for healthcare. That's really, Sabrina, that's really, when we're talking about being defined as left, there's really a few things, and then white liberals decide to say, I'm a leftist, and Medicare for all is one of them.
Yep.
And that's it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's true. This is what they've been doing. So Cynthia McKinney explained it the best. She said, because I asked her this too, why didn't Bernie Sanders run as independent? And Cynthia McKinney said, because Bernie Sanders' job is to keep you in the Democratic Party. His role was to get, especially the younger people, get the younger voters to come out and support these progressive policies and ideas. But Bernie Sanders knew that the DNC wasn't going to let him win, at least after the first time that he ran. Mm-hmm. And then to tell those young voters, you got to vote for Joe Biden or else you're going to get Trump. That's how they keep you in the Democratic Party. And people like David Sirota and Breaking Points and all of them, they're doing the same thing. The same thing. So I'll show you this part too. And this is the part, like, I don't understand how he was working for two teams. He was working for two teams at the same time. So this is the part about him working with David Brock.
I know David Brock. Yeah, that guy's terrible.
Here we go.
Wow.
Now, this is when he announced that he was leaving Share Blue. Investigative reporter David Sirota has backed out of the left's answer to Brett Bart. Now, here's the part that you need to pay close attention to here. Investigative journalist David Sirota has backed out of the job to lead True Blue Media, the David Brock brainchild pitched as the Brett Bart of the left as its new CEO. So again, that's the I'm leaving statement there. And then here's the part that I want you to hear as to why he chose to leave. And it's not going to be what you think. True Blue Media. I believe in nonpartisan accountability journalism. This is coming from David Sirota. However, the circumstances of the job subsequently changed. True Blue Media does not now have in hand the resources for the kind of independent, nonpartisan journalism I want to continue to do, and that is needed to execute on the ambitious editorial strategy that we agreed on. Therefore, I've decided to turn down the job. I wish David Brock all the best. So the reason why he decided to leave is not because of what they were doing, but it's because they didn't have the resources. But let me show you what they were doing. Now, the key failure by a key element of the Democratic establishment to recruit Sirota, an anti-corporate outsider from the party Sanders wing, points to the challenge Democratic donors and elites face in challenging a movement that at the end of the day has little love for them. Hold on to your seats for this part. True Blue, which operates as Share Blue, was part of a cadre of liberal outlets that supported Hillary Clinton's failed presidential campaign. I kid you not. I'm going to highlight this. True Blue, which operates as Share Blue, was part of a cadre liberal outlets that supported Hillary Clinton's failed presidential campaign. So why was David working for a company that backed Hillary Clinton's campaign when he was a part of Bernie Sanders' campaign? Anybody? He said he left earlier on because they didn't have the resources. Basically, David wanted some money. That's what this is about. I told you, 1 foot on the corporate Dem side, he got 1 foot on the progressive Dem side. That's the problem with David Sirota. There's more. There was something else that this company was doing. And David Brock. And this is why David Brock is problematic. A quick taste of how online troll army like Hillary's Correct the Record functions. I don't know if every one of you remembers Correct the Record, but you got to follow this. So listen to this. We told you last month that Hillary Clinton's super PAC Correct the Record, under the guidance of political hatchman David Brock, was spending $1 million on an army of Twitter trolls. We got a taste of the digital stormtroopers in action when at least a couple of them colluded to get Bernie Sanders' Facebook pages shut down. So let's hear this again. CJ.
Good Lord. This is so, earlier, Sabrina, I said, in the DM, I'm going on record that this is a psyop. Now I'm going publicly. This, to me, I'm hearing this. There's too many coincidences here. There's too many. And it sounds like, what if what he's doing with breaking points is just the extension of this plan that you're bringing up here? What if it's just the extension of that? Like, he's getting paid. And I mean, we kind of talked about it earlier. This is the ruling class version. They know that people they're not down with this corporate media anymore. So we need to find a way to grasp these people. And this is the way. Breaking points could be a template. You have all these people with all these mysterious connections, all these past connections that they supposedly now disavow. And I don't even know if they have now disavow. You don't think that clouds what they're doing? You don't think that's the motivation behind what's happening? This makes, to me, Sabrina, and I'll pass it to you after this makes breaking points extremely suspicious to me. It makes the whole story of them being kicked off the hill suspect to me.
Yep. And then I'll just show this part here. This was the flyer that CJ went over. We talked about this, like who's joining breaking points. And the one thing I want to point out, all of these people, maybe not Real News Network, they're a little bit different, but all of these people, they have the same talking points. You have Marshall here, and I pointed this out as well. Marshall is the Black conservative that's a part of the network. So again, I have to ask people, why is it okay for breaking points to have conservatives as a part of their network, but it's not okay for someone like Jimmy Dore to go on Fox News? You see what I'm saying? There's been a lot of people heavily smearing Jimmy Dore in the past couple of weeks, calling him right wing, but they are not smearing breaking points for adding conservatives onto their own network. And that right there let me know something is happening here. Some of these people, like you got The Intercept, that also includes Ryan Grimm. The Intercept, I don't know why they would add them, knowing what happened with Glenn Greenwald and The Intercept. So The Intercept is going to push you to vote for Joe Biden, which they've done before. All of these people come 2024, they're going to tell you to vote blue no matter who. That's the thing. The lever is David Sirota. They're all connected. This is why even Secular Talk Kyle Kalinski's talking points changed last year. Once he started doing that show with Crystal, this is why their talking points have started to change. And people can look this up for themselves, but I noticed some of the talking points on Rising, I felt like they were actually, Crystal was more to the left when she was on Rising than when they left that and became quote unquote independent per se and started breaking points. But are they really independent? We can show that in just a second. But all these people are going to sheep herd you into the Democratic Party. They're going to tell you to vote for the progressive or the populist candidate. But when that person lose, they're going to tell you to vote blue no matter who. And someone sent me this the other day right before I went live. And here's a clip of Crystal doing just that. And I'm going to show you how effectively they do it. Watch what she says here. Now, this is when she was on Rising. Like David Sirota to that network, because David Sirota has the same talking points. Watch how Crystal Ball frames this. She's going to start out like a leftist and make you say, yes, you need to withhold your vote. But watch how she ends. She uses the same framing that David Sirota did on that audio that you just heard at the beginning of this story.
Because whether they want to admit it or not, they do in fact need us in order to win. Now, they would certainly prefer not to have to give up anything of substance in order to get us on board. But in fact, their fixation on Trump and Trump alone does give us an advantage. The only question, it's a big one, is if we're willing to use it. If we're actually willing in a coordinated fashion to make demands and be willing to withhold our votes. Individual voters here and there making their own unaffiliated decisions are in fact powerless. But as always, solidarity could be powerful. The only question, and again, it is an incredibly weighty one, is whether we're actually willing to grab that power and risk actually being the reason that Trump is reelected. Because while I think it's highly likely that because of their anti-Trump desperation, Democrats would cave to virtually any demands backed up by a truly credible threat, there's of course a chance that they don't. And there's of course a chance that such a coordinated anti-Biden opposition from the left would in fact result in a Trump reelection. And let's not sugarcoat what that means. It means being ready to carry the Trump admin's actions on your conscience, including the orphan babies at the border, the footsie with white nationalists, the deadly level of sheer incompetence. It means being willing to be absolutely and thoroughly despised, seen as true villains, or perhaps an even greater magnitude than Trump.
Did you hear what she just said? She started out good, the way a leftist would, right? Yes, there's power in withholding your vote. And then towards the end, she switched it up, just like David Sirota did, and said, well, if Trump wins, long story short, if Trump wins, then you would have to deal with having that on your conscience, that you let fascists win. That's the same rhetoric that Sirota gave on that audio call at the beginning of this story. All of these people, they're sheep herders. All of them are going to keep you voting Democrat. They'll play this game for years. For years, they'll say, we have a progressive. Vote for the progressive. The progressive loses. Well, you got to vote for the corporate Democrat, or otherwise we're going to end up like with someone like another Trump. They're all the same, guys. The narrative is the same. Whether Marshall is a conservative or not, he's not a Trump conservative. So Marshall will tell you to vote for Joe Biden too. This is the full circle. That's why you have people like David Sirota added to this network. Secular talk used to be decent back in the day, but Kyle started changing up his rhetoric last year. I already knew what was coming. You see it now? These are the people who are going to keep you in the Democratic Party. CJ?
Yeah, this is this is so on point, and the point that you bring up about Crystal, that is so key to understanding the strategy that they have, is that they want to they want to almost like photocopy the language and how we speak up until the very, very end. They want to take our leftist in and just tweak it in their mind. Just go back to the Democratic Party. And I think that's the lane I don't know what name we want to give that lane, but it's the lane of, I'm a leftist up until the last very point.
Yep.
That's the whole push, or that's the whole strategy of this new sort of like breaking points. And I see them looking at themselves, Sabrina, as the next like TYT, because I think they figure TYT has gone so far gone, they don't have the ability to bring it back to catch those non-establishment people. So they feel like it's them. But then again, do they have that audience? Because when they took a poll, it was something like 57% would support military action if China, and they use the term invade, but I would say if China took over Taiwan. And I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, and then I was gonna say, do you have that video link for that summary about them being corporate media? If not, I can pull it up.
Which one? I have 3. Please pull it up, please. Yeah.
Let me pull it up. Because basically, I have to give credit to Indie News Network, which is Indie Left, and people like Rob Durden and Blue Moon Red Wine. There's a whole group of them. They
Let me throw this comment up there while you look. He says, "Who cares what non-revolutionary people think of you?" I don't think we're addressing what they think of us. What we're trying to point out is, in order for the duopoly to maintain its control, and they can see that they're losing their control because media doesn't work for the upcoming generations that are coming. So in order for them to do that, hang on a second here. In order for them to maintain that, they have to come up with different ways. And it's my belief, and maybe it's yours too, Sabrina, that this is one of the ways they're going to try to co-opt independent media. It's through this way, just putting a bunch of people together who used to be part of the establishment together. And the reason it's important for us to talk about this is because if we don't, the left and non-establishment people are just going to keep being in the same cycle. And we're trying to get everybody out of that cycle. I think that's the point. I just wanted to address that comment.
Yeah. And so basically, like Indie News Network, they were doing some research and they found out some things about Breaking Point in reference to finances, that Breaking Points actually may not be independent after all. Wow. And they did a summary video to show you. So I'll share that with you guys. But there's an article. That article should be coming out today where they go into a lot more detail about every one of these shows that's been added, who's funded by who, where the money comes from. This is very important. So shout out to Indie News Network and Indie Left and the team for finding this information and putting this together, because if you're not independent, just say you're not independent, but don't lie to your audience and say you're independent and go on stream every day asking people for more money. So this is something that they put together, and I want everyone to take a look at this.
Before you start, Sabrina, can we, because I want to give them the proper shout out, because this is really, I saw this video too. This is really some good information. So for those that may not know indie media, can you just briefly give a sort of a description of who they are and where they could be found? So maybe people that want to reach out to them and look at their content or something. I think you're muted. I'm sorry. I know you had it already set up. I know you had it set up already.
Yeah, let me put in their YouTube channel. Indie Left News. He's awesome. Indie Left has done a lot of work for these bigger lefty shows behind the scenes. Like he's managed some of their Discord groups. He's mod for some of their channels, their live streams. So he's worked with like the bigger channels, and he's worked with all of us as well, like with Substack and things like that. So he puts out a newsletter once a week where he ranks like the top left independent media shows and the news stories and things like that. So people know who he is because he's worked with a lot of us behind the scenes. But he actually put together a network, And I think there's about 10 of them. That includes like Rob Durden, Blue Moon Red Wine, Colin, Reef. There's a whole bunch of them. Jesse Jett. And they kind of do what we kind of do, right? Like there's a group of us, and then people might have their individual channels as well. And so as part of his job is like doing these newsletters, they did some research and they found out some financial situation or information about breaking points that they may not be independent after all. So that's where this comes from. Wow. And this is just the summary of it. And then I can put the link to the actual live stream where they go through different parts of the article about each show, like who's connected to think tanks, who's connected to billionaire money. So I'll just go ahead and play the summary vid first.
That's Ryan Gribbs. Somebody's criticizing AOC in the squad. I have to come shit on a random podcaster. I'm the DC bureau chief of the fucking billionaire-funded Intercept, and I still have to peruse in Twitter defending politicians against podcasters' accurate descriptions.
The Chinese are less likely now to invade because of the setbacks the Russians have experienced there. So that's why I think the war matters there. But the Defense Department, the White House, they are doing a great job.
That's what we already know, that Republicans are terrible.
What I tell people is if you have a conscience, you will vote third party for the rest of your life, because how dare you vote for these people?
In 2020, I voted for Biden.
Joe Biden, a racist, warmongering puppet and tool of Wall Street and an enemy of the workers, and somehow you're going to pat yourself on the back that you're a good person.
I think Donald Trump is a danger. I think he's terrible. I also know that I'm a white person saying this. But Hillary Clinton is not slam dunk 100% better that I, as an individual, can in good conscience vote for this. There seems to be a laser focus on one party. There's earmuffs.
Here you saying, David, is you're giving an out for them to not do this, and that's
no, I'm not giving them an out.
Yeah,
I'm saying I don't know the answer to when push really came to shove. If you said, I want these things that you really don't want to do, and that those lawmakers should then vote in the way that we're talking about to elect Kevin McCarthy speaker. Just as a human being,
you're misframing this. You keep misframing the issue.
She can't get 218 Democrats, then there's no speaker,
right?
And then it kicks back to the caucus, and then it's chaos, and then a whole bunch of people can run, and then somebody will emerge. Somebody would emerge from that process.
As he points out, you don't get Kevin McCarthy as speaker.
But as long as we're not arming the Azov battalion, I have no problem arming Ukraine in general so that they can protect themselves from Russian aggression.
Ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history.
They are very comfortable and okay with multipolarity. I mean, they've laughed at me.
So what is that? So what is multipolarity?
Right. So they've laughed at me when I'm like, God, we'll be doomed to Europe. And they're like, oh, well, in Europe, they have healthcare. I'm like, yeah, but they also have no say over the global affairs of the world. I want to write the affairs of the world, the rules of the road. I want to be the only blue water navy.
Just terrible, Sabrina. Just terrible. That's some great work. And make sure you check out that live stream. I looked at a little bit of it. I think you put the link in there. Yeah, the link you put in the DM. I looked at a little bit of it. They're just uncovering a lot of things. And the one I know, I'm waiting for the article to drop. You said it's a little bit later because I'm waiting to read about the details too. because I want to be able to say who exactly is funding them. Because I think I asked you this question earlier. Like, how do we know how many people are funding them? They just tell us they're independent. We have no idea. But if you think about on YouTube, and then I'll pass it to you after this, if you think about on YouTube, they're not suppressed. Why aren't they suppressed on YouTube if they're espousing left policies and beliefs? But they're not suppressed at all. And I almost think that they are like pushed. They're pushed, not only not suppressed, but they're pushed by the algorithms, because their content is not that different than corporate media. Their content, especially when we get to war propaganda, is almost identical. And Crystal Ball, as a leftist, kind of sits there and lets Sagar dictates the narrative about all of the war topics or war discussion. Is just very eye-opening to me, Sabrina.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I do have this part here I'll share. And this is from Reef. And this is just a little short part that he reads from the article that will come out later on today, because you were asking how come they're not suppressed. This is something that Reef mentions here. And then I'll tell you guys about the billionaire funding. So,
but in reality are serving the same corporate interests of the mainstream media. As writer Caitlin Johnstone put in a recent article titled KFAB Populism, Notes from the Edge of the Narrative Matrix. So it's so important the public have no real say in U.S. politics that the empire not only set up two oligarchic puppet parties which pretend to oppose each other, but also set up fake populist movements within each of those factions which pretend to be fighting the establishment within those parties. Two examples of this phenomenon in media are the Young Turks, a network that postures itself as opposed to the establishment, but often defends the democratic establishment and pushes neocon propaganda on issues such as Syria and Russiagate. 2, Tucker Carlson, founder of the Daily Caller and a Fox News host who postures as a populist. The issue is that he consistently pushes pro-war talking points on China and has many close connections to the neocon establishment, such as his involvement with the dirty war in Nicaragua or the fact that he previously tried to join the CIA. In case the shitlibs that are hate watching this right now want to say that we didn't focus on right-wingers such as Tucker. Okay? Okay. Both of these outlets are supported by the Republican and Democratic establishment. The Young Turks took over $20 million from Hillary Clinton donor Jeffrey Katzenberg, and Tucker Carlson is allowed on the Rupert Murdoch-funded Fox News. The best example of this type of media is Breaking Points, a supposed self-described anti-establishment outlet that actually represents a segment of the controlled opposition within the Democratic and Republican establishment. Recently, they have launched a network, including other commentators and outlets. The network is full of neocons masquerading as populists and billionaire-funded outlets that masquerade as adversarial. This article will examine some of the most nefarious element within the network. I mean, good stuff from Indie Left and the Dissident here. So,
and they're reading that directly from, like, is that like a preview article or what is that?
Yeah.
He's reading from? Okay.
Yeah, and that this part right here, this is when they go into all the different shows. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but they start out with the Realignment, which is that podcast with Sagar and Marshall.
Wow.
These guys work at a think tank. They're connected to a think tank that receives money from weapons manufacturers Raytheon and Northrop Grumman. So this is the problem, guys. This is why you hear the talking points that you hear on Breaking Points. This is why they're okay with giving Ukraine money. This is why they're okay with intervening with China. Like, it's all connected. And in reference to the billionaire per se that's mentioned at the beginning of that summary video, Pierre, that guy who's funding some of these shows, like, this is all connected. That guy has donated money for imperialist efforts abroad, for U.S. intervention abroad. Now do you see why they have the talking points they do about war on Breaking Points? And every single, you look at the shows that they added to Breaking Points, these are shows that are not growing. They're stagnant. Secular Talk, well, actually Secular Talk has dropped. They're steadily like losing subs. Status Coup, David Sirota's The Lever doesn't have as many subs. Like these are channels that are not growing. So their idea is bring them all onto Breaking Point since they have the same talking points that we kind of do. And then since Breaking Points is still growing, because they don't seem to be affected by the algorithm on YouTube. They don't seem to be suppressed because of the talking points they have. So the idea is to bring them on the Breaking Points to help those channels start growing again and thrive again and get that message out even more.
And it looks like that's exactly what they're executing. Let me ask you this. Do you believe they thought people would figure this out this early? Or do you think they thought at least they would launch it and get through a couple of seasons before, a couple of years before people figure this out? Like, do you think they underestimated people figuring this out so soon?
I definitely think they underestimated people figuring this out. But I knew, like, I think I called this out last year when Case Study came on, and I told him, I was like, I don't think Breaking Points is independent. And Case was like, well, no, they say that they're 100% independent. And I was like, yeah, something doesn't add up, because if you tell your audience that that desk alone costs $10,000, they have a full staff, they have to pay for the studio space, and everybody getting paid, you mean to tell me all that money is coming just from Patreon and just from your Substack subscriptions? I don't think so.
And that's why I was saying the math just doesn't, because if you just take their subscribers and then multiply that, is that where you're saying you're getting all this money to play for these items? I didn't know the desk was $10,000 for the desk, but just imagine some of the other equipment. But I did hear them talk on the stream about the quality of their audio and how they got a dedicated audio guy who's always there. Do you understand? Now, I have a little knowledge of, like the pay of people in sort of like the entertainment business, and audio people are some of the top paid people when you're talking about filmmaking, because it's such a niche work. Like not a lot of people know how to do that. So if they have a dedicated audio person, they're making money. And can you do all of that? Well, actually, let's ask another way, Sabrina. Is there any other independent channel doing it that way, that can afford it that way? Because the only other place I know is doing it is TYT, and they got corporate money. So who else that's independent that's doing it this way, Sabrina?
Well, and if you look at the numbers, right? So you look at people like Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore has over 1 million subs. Jimmy don't have a full staff. He got a couple people help here and there. I know there's like intern, that kind of thing, but not to the level of what they have. And they have less subs than Jimmy does, right? You look at someone like David Pakman. I know he's not really left, but David Pakman has over 1 million subs. He has a full staff, but you know why? David Pakman has sponsors. You see the commercials on his videos. He doesn't say that he doesn't have sponsors. He doesn't hide that. That's how I knew something doesn't add up when it comes to the money. Now you just added all these people not going to be paid. Like, why are they connected to a billionaire?
Right. Do we know yet? Are we waiting for the article? Like, how was the billionaire connected, or is that what the article is going to kind of address more of the details of that?
The article is going to address more of the details of that. They talk about it a little bit in that live stream I just showed. It's a long stream, but they talk about it a little bit. But you also got to know the Intercept is also billionaire money. That's why Jimmy Dore.
No, I know you know this part. I was just going to ask you, and how was that again? If you can explain that part to me again. Is billionaire by, it was funded initially, like that's how it got started? Is that the story behind it?
Initially, Glenn Greenwald was the one that started the Intercept.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I don't think it was billionaire money back then. I'm not quite sure, but I do know that something that Jimmy always references about Ryan Grimm is that he's paid by 3 billionaires. Right. So I think the Intercept had some changes after Glenn left and all that kind of stuff, but you're bringing in billionaire money. You think, like, this is something I want people to think. Like, you think Ryan Grimm's just going to work for Breaking Points and not get paid? This is just because it looks like he's leaving. He's going to be leaving Rising because you're seeing less and less of him Right? So what did you say, Eric? Oh, Intercept was billionaire money from the start. Oh, so there you go.
Oh, wow.
So how can you say that you're 100% independent? Like, I don't believe that. I don't believe you got a full staff that's paid.
Is there anybody in our audience that watches them or pays membership? I know I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I'm just curious to know, is this something that they divulge to their audience as far as, you know, revenue share? Like, are they opened with how they make their money with somebody? Because I'm curious to know how many subscribers they have. Like, how are they coming up with the money that they make? Or maybe we have to wait for the taxes and see how that is. Not sure. Yeah.
No.
Let's see. Do you have any other receipts? I think I'm all receipt out for this episode. But I gotta say, the ones you brought, this video footage, and then I may have to do a follow-up on this once this article dropped, if the details of this are really like scandalous. I think it'll be worth reporting. And I'm gonna pass it to you. I'm curious to know your thoughts on this. But I think they watch us. I think because of what happened, I'm not gonna mention the person's name, but you know, the person that reached out and was like, "Hey, I have a problem." He's part of, yeah, you know, that person. Because I think maybe somebody reached out to that person, maybe. And I just think that they watch us and they know that with your channel and this channel, there's a large influence that we seem to now cultivate on the left. Like what we're saying, we're starting to hear in some of the other leftist media sphere. We're starting to hear is basically what I'm saying. So even if they don't watch it directly, word is getting back that, hey, Sabi Sab and the people over at RBN, they're figuring out this game. So I think they are watching this, and it's possibly that they're watching now. But what would you say to them? Like, what would you ask them if you were able to have them on as an interview? David Sirota, for example. What would you kind of want to address with him?
The money. Like, that's the big thing for me. And I mean, I think that's the reason why they would never come talk to us, because they know that we're going to challenge them and they don't want to be challenged, especially when you start asking people questions about the money and the class issue, because that's really where the divide is. These people are rich. And so people will come in and play devil's advocate and say, well, what about Jimmy Dore? And I'm like, the difference between Jimmy Dore, is he telling you that you need to vote blue no matter who? Right. Didn't Jimmy Dore grow up working class? He knows what it's like to work hard. A lot of these people are from privileged upper class families. They really don't know what that's like. And that's why they'll continue to say, keep voting for the Democratic Party, keep doing this. But I think they see what some of the things that we do and they start to try to do it themselves. For example, who was smoking on stream before RBN? Now all of a sudden, I'm not gonna mention no names, but I've noticed now some of these legacy people, now all of a sudden it's okay for them to smoke on stream, right? Yeah. Who was trying to collaborate and do like roundtables and stuff like that before RBN? They weren't collaborating at all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, those are two great points. We owe it all to our audience. So I'll take this opportunity to thank our audience. So thank all of you for your support and for you teaching us and us teaching you. And we know that you're going out in their comments, because I've heard, Sabi, you've mentioned like, wow, the comments over there wasn't good. Like, we know you guys are guys and gals and people are going over into their comments and finally challenging them. And we know that they're seeing this. I remember in that stream when they were pushing progressives, I remember seeing their faces as they were reading comments in that stream of pushing progressives. So we know that this word is getting back to them. And I think that's why we're getting the pushback. I know for sure David watched our stream because he blocked this right after. And I know Nomiki too. She blocked this after we dropped that I think it was Nick and I who did something on her and David Doe. But let's go to super chats before we end.
Okay, they got the article. I'll send you the link, CJ. We'll have to talk about it another time.
Yeah, yes. I gotta kind of get off. We can't cover it now, but the article is up. But for those that do want to go check it out, please go check it out on Indie Media's net. They got it on Twitter, you said, or he DM'd you on Twitter. But go check that out. Okay, sorry, I didn't see your thing until now. Sorry about that. All right, so I'll put up the other DMs. We kind of didn't cover any of them, Sabrina, even from the beginning. So let me make sure. I did not. I'm make sure I didn't, like, even when Nick was here, we didn't cover them. So careful, they're co-opting the term socialist too. And that's a comment because I was like, I played the Malcolm X video where he talks about white liberals, and I was like, we need to update it to white progressives because now they use that term progressives. And this person is making the point that they're going to start using socialists, and they're already doing it. That's absolutely right. And this is Zoya. Progressives, by definition, is someone fighting for incrementalism. Progressive, not structural change. Absolutely. I'll read this one, then I'll let you take the next one. I came in from Majority Report. You came up on my feed. Let's see what y'all fellas got. Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
So that's cool. That's cool. You came up from Majority Report. I wonder if you're still here. Make a comment what you think, Justin. And then I'll put it up, and then I'll let you read that one, Sabrina. Is that that's not a super chat? Why is it? Oh, that's just saved. Maybe he saved some. Let me go to the super chats. I'm sorry.
President Jafar, thank you. NGO Nomiki.
Terrible. Oh, that's him again. Him or her again. Nico House exposed Andrea. Yes. I'm not sure if we put that one up. I'll leave that one for you, Sabrina.
Buster Peak 21, thanks for the super chat. Imagine being like that while still arguing people should take electoral politics seriously.
Yeah. I think they're commenting on what David Sirota not being into the strategy. That's kind of weird too. This one is from I just think that's Note Knock Serial. Note Knock Rough. Indie equals stream from your home, otherwise US. Maybe. I'm streaming from my home. Sabrina's streaming from her home. Maybe that's what it is. I'll let you take. Oh, actually, you read this one already. So we'll check. I'm gonna check that article out after I go pick up the kids. And maybe we'll report on that tonight. Can you talk about what you have going on tonight on your show tonight, Sabrina?
Well, me and JB will be here for Roundtable in a couple minutes, and I don't stream on Thursday nights on my show, but also me and JB and Glory, a couple other people. I have to check the DMs. We're going to be on a panel on Frank Analysis show tonight talking about gun control or gun reform. So that should be an interesting panel. So
absolutely. So check that out. Shout out to Franco, friend of the show, friend of the network. I think we have come to the end of the stream. Oh, James is going to share. Okay, we'll pop him in real quick. It was just about to end the stream.
Hi, everybody. I just finished with Jordan.
Right on. Now we have 400 people here. Did you want to take over this stream, or you two want to use the other stream? I mean, you could take this over, and I can just update it to all the information you have from the other one if you want. Or we can end here and have everybody. It's up to you, but I mean, we do have 400 people here. If you want to take over, and I can just update the title, update the icon if you want.
I defer to Sabi. You know, ma'am, what would you like to do? the lady of the house.
I said we could keep this one if that works, JB.
That's fine with me. I'm here.
All right, so I'll update it to you'll have to update the folder and change the banner and all of that. So I'll leave that up to you. You just saw what? Go ahead.
I just saw you guys say you were gonna continue on this one. My bad. I didn't know my audio was on. I'm sorry. I'm here with you guys. I think we're gonna
I'll update the title. I'm sorry, I changed them to the main thing. I'll update the title and all that stuff so that it reflects that this is the roundtable. So don't worry about that. I'll take care of that. But as far as all of the producing part, I'm gonna leave it up to you to change everything.
Yeah, I
pick what you want because
Gotcha.
it's all different, JB. So, but I gotta get going. How do I take that off Sabrina's face right there? This right here.
Oh,
there we go. I switched it from my, you know, the you left shit out to the RBN main. So I don't know what you use for yours, but I'll leave it up to
this is
you.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just want to say I think Fridays I'm typically off, so I'm probably gonna be off unless something crazy happens. You know, like really crazy happens, then I might jump on and do a stream. But so happy I was able to be on stream with Sabi. We don't get to stream a lot together, so happy I was able to do that today. And it was on one of our one of our topics, which is David Sirota and the class divide with that we keep having, this bumping heads with white liberals, or who we would call white progressives now. So just wanted to say that before I take off. Everybody have enjoyed the next couple of hours with the RBN Live Roundtable, and I will update it, everything. See you, Sabrina and JB. I'll see you.
All right. And by the way, CJ, I'll
come back.
We just actually were talking about. I was just talking about with Jordan. So it should be an interesting conversation.
Actually, could you give me how'd that go? Don't give me the whole thing. Don't give me the whole thing, but just give me a little bit of what happened, the conversation. How did it go?
Yeah, I was about to ask you about that.
One of the things I brought up was that there's definitely a class divide in the independent media space. And that class divide, I said there was a gulf between those of us who have a lack of a sense of urgency versus those of us that have an extreme sense of urgency. And I think that we need to have dialogue and talk about this. And I also said that a lot of these larger channels, you know, they may say that they're open to talking, but they're not contacting us, and we're open to talking. So
I saw like the last 30 minutes. You did a good job, JB. I didn't see the whole thing. I called like 30 minutes after I got off here, but you did. You did a good job.
Thank you. But yeah, I you know, and the thing is that, you know, there's some things that we disagreed upon a little bit with Jordan, but there's some things that we did agree upon. And I think it was actually a really good, productive conversation. And I'm really glad that, you know, Jordan was gracious enough to have me on. And so, you know, I give him props for having me on, and I would like to, you know, talk to him a little bit more in the future, you know. So, and I also told him about the tour for the poor, and that, you know, Rome is coming to Missouri, and I told him I think that he should cover it, you know, with you in Rome, Nick. So I think that would be great, you know, for him to cover that, because if he's covering a lot of activism on the ground, Rome is an activist, and, you know, and you're in that activist space. So I think that would also be great for you guys for him to highlight that as well.
What was the reason you went on there? What was it, just to kind of talk about different topics, or was it a specific reason you were brought on there for?
Actually, we were talking about political strategy, outside strategy. This kind of alludes to the talk about nihilism, you know, when it comes to our, you know, method of strategy. And basically I brought up how, you know, this is the strategy that, you know, we see is a strategy of what our elders did in the past that actually worked. And so that was really the entirety of the conversation. It lasted 2 hours.
Wow. That's
yeah.
great.
So, you know, it was a productive conversation, because there's a lot of things that he actually agreed with us on. So I think it was a good conversation.
Yeah.
So shout out to
Jordan. He handled it pretty well, but go ahead, CJ. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, so shout out to Jordan Sheraton. You give a person props when they deserve props. You criticize them when you criticize. So shout out to him for having JB on, having a informative conversation. I'll check it out, but I'm just going off your word, having an informative conversation. And our audience, I know we get crazy in our audience, in our rhetoric sometimes, in our comments, but I say this with Case all the time. We do have to start sort of softening our language, because we can't be fine with teaming up with Trump supporters and not be fine with teaming up with them too. You get what I'm saying? Like, we have to be fine with teaming up with liberals if they agree with the same things. I'm not saying outside of stuff we don't agree with. I'm just saying that we're saying, as long as they're part of the proletariat, I'm not saying, you know, outside of our class, but if they're part of the proletariat and they're liberal, we have to start reaching out. And, you know, you catch more bees with honey. I guess the way it's hard. Don't get me wrong. I'm
yeah, it's hard.
You get what I'm saying? Like some people might be saying I'm the last person that should be saying this. I'm just saying, like we have to keep speaking about it until our actions follow. So we have to keep speaking about it so our actions follow. And I'll just keep saying that to myself because I do have to say it to myself. I'm so mad that I have to leave because I'm never on with the tubes with Sabrina and JB because of my schedule.
It's all good.
But yeah,
we'll catch
I gotta
you again, man.
I gotta pick up my daughters. So I'll go do that. And if you're still on, maybe I'll jump on. I'm gonna leave my setup on. So if I get back in time, I'll jump on if you're still if all of you are still on. But we got 400 people. I want to keep that up. Before I leave, I know you won't do this. Y'all are too sedity to do this, but I'll tell people it's the like time. It's time to like the stream right now. Okay, so let's like the stream right now. Let me tell you where we're at, so I can tell you where we need to go, and you can talk while I'm looking at this. If you have something to say, Nick or JB or something.
I was about to say, so the majority report guy, he led that super chat, and I remember him leaving that very early on. This is before we got into the expose, especially into Nomiki Konst. I wonder what his reaction to that was. I was just super curious. We will never know, but I think it was a great thing that you went on and talked to Jordan. And that's the same reason I went to talk to Destiny, because we do a lot of great education here. I think it's very important to have revolutionary education here. But it just, by the very mechanism of this work, it does become a little echo chambery. Like, I don't want to create echo chamber and there's someone who wants to talk to us. I think we should take the opportunity. I think that's why we have 400 viewers. You guys know we've been suppressed. But when people see our views on other channels who actually have the balls to have us on, like Jordan, and once again, props to Destiny, because now a lot of those bread tubers are willing to have that conversation, and a lot of people are not willing to have that conversation like Jordan. So I don't think like that should be like the priority, but I do think it's important to have conversations with people who may not agree with you all the time. So
yeah. So we're at 463 likes. Let's get the roundtable to 500 likes. That's easily done. We have a lot of new people watching that haven't liked this stream yet. So 463 likes we're at. Let's push it to 500. Get more people in the chat. We haven't checked the comments in a while, so you might want to do that.
We're gonna do that.
Yeah, I'll listen offline. JB is always good about doing that. So we skip over people so too much. Let's
do we have a clip, Sabi?
It shows 258 comments that I haven't checked yet. So all right, so I finally gotta go. I gotta eat and then I gotta go pick up my girls. So
all right,
have a good stream. If I get back in time, I'm gonna join again. So I'm dropping out.
All right, see you when we see you. All right, just to thank you for everyone for staying with us in this hour. You're watching the RBN Roundtable. My name is James Fauntleroy. It is good to see all of you continuing to watch with us today. Don't leave yet. Please make sure to smash that subscribe button, as well as if you are not subscribed, please make sure to subscribe and please make sure to leave us a like. Just to let you guys know that the Roundtable, this is the Thursday live version that you guys can catch us on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And please make sure, again, to smash that like button because the algorithm doesn't like us. And so joining me for this hour, I have Sabi Sabs as well as Nick, aka Chocolate Thunder, my brother for another mother. And yes, I meant for that to rhyme. So it's good to see all of y'all here today. Boy, oh boy, it's been a long day.
I just put the link to the defund clip in the private chat, Nick.
Oh, cool.
But I'll be right back. I have to find a shirt. It's really cold in here now, so I'm gonna be right back.
It's all good. It's all good. You guys saw I had to take a break, get some tea. Do some pregame after the first stream. I actually really like this. I really like the new format that our channel is going down because we are a network, so we should behave like a network, right? With multiple time slots. So I think Sabi did that too in response to this because I heard a few people asking me, this is like multiple streams. People have been asking me, or RBN in general, to do what I say, JB? Kind people or my kind people?
My kind of people.
My kind. Oh, I see. My kind of people.
Yep. Yeah,
JB that's from a powerful mug, man. JB's too powerful out here.
ADC from the People's Voice Network actually sent me some merch. Because he's actually using that to help raise money to help me out in mutual aid. So I just want to give a special thank you to ADC for, being so gracious and kind to me for that. So
we got the clip because some people want to hear us react to Adolf Reed's interview on Sabi's channel, which I still think was a very productive and enlightening conversation. I remember when Sabi first got Reed on there, we were super excited. But there's like this trend of academics who they do a good job breaking down the problems of society because that's their job. But when we ask them, when it's asked, what is your solution to those problems? And we all know the solutions. There's always this, they pull back. There's this hesitancy to keep the same system that they complain about in place because unfortunately academics are privileged. Do they really want to challenge the system? And I noticed that recently being in this sphere, they will talk about the issues, but do you think, should we do a general strike? Should we force the vote? Should we support defund the police? Then they would like, oh, I don't know about that. But you just said this was an unredeemable white supremacist system. But anyway, I want to wait till Sabi get back, and then we can do that video. JB, do you have anything you want to add? Anything you want to present as well?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that a lot of our, and I think I spoke about this in someone who is Black who is advocating for Biden, who's probably around our age, which is kind of interesting. But he was talking about, basically that if you are against Joe Biden, he was basically alluding to that we're against our daddies, our mamas, our aunties, our uncles who also.
Hopefully that's just me. JB?
Did I cut out for a second?
Yeah, at least for me. Hopefully it wasn't just me. But go ahead.
Okay. But people who were like our moms, dads, uncles, aunts, that if they were for the crime bill. And I basically said that if our mamas, daddies, aunties, uncles, grandparents, whoever, if they were for the crime bill, they were wrong. See, here's the thing that people don't realize is that some of our older people are also propagandized to. They're also propagandized to think a certain way. And the thing is that it's okay for us. And a lot of Black people, we have been, shamed into, you can't correct somebody that's older. You have to respect your elders. And I'm like, respect for elders also means, informing them of what is the right side of history and to, implore them to be on it. That's also respect. And so I think that's something that we, I recognize because I see somebody like, Professor Reed as someone who's old enough to be my father. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I think you're off on this. And the thing is that Sabi, in a respectful way, was trying to tell him, I think you're off. But also, there's also a bit of a class divide because, Professor Reed, has that tenure, has, those accolades, that income that places him above us. And so it's like, yeah, I think we need to present more of the facts to you. Maybe he will be more accepting of them, especially coming from those of us who are young and Black and on the left, or maybe not. I don't know. But, there is a bit of a divide, especially, generational between people like, Professor Reed and somebody like me, you, or Sabi.
Yeah, and this is what I don't understand. This is what a few people I brought some comments up that mentioned the same. Like Reed, I didn't watch the whole interview. I saw a little bit of the defund segment, and I heard he pushed back regarding like voting for Biden and stuff, which is like, wow. I don't want to like sum up what he said. I didn't see that part. To be fair, maybe we will get to that clip.
I saw it.
This is what I don't understand, and this is why I dragged David Sirota so hard, because David Sirota, he's going to cover a story I'm going to cover here very soon regarding Biden not doing anything about Medicare price hikes, which is a sanction on the elderly class in this country. I am trying to get you guys to reframe shit. So when Biden chooses to have a Medicare price hike, when he can prevent that, and that was his campaign promise. That's him taking money out of the hands of senior citizens. So why shouldn't we call that JB? So how is that not Biden sanctioning JB? Biden and his donors are putting a sanction on the working class. So David Sirota, he called that out. Noam Chomsky will call out the evils of the Democratic Party in the U.S. empire, and then they will say vote for them. That pathology, I can't say anything other than that, just them being disconnected with the working class. Because I remember Noam Chomsky in particular. Noam Chomsky said, and I ripped on him for this many times. He said we need to vote for Joe Biden because of the climate crisis. So, sir, Joe Biden expanded fracking, expanded offshore drilling. He's funding the military more, which is the largest polluter in human history. So you're saying things that are just factually untrue, and these are things that we were saying before the election. So what is that, guys? I will comment, chat. Let me know. Like, how can people like Chomsky, how can people like Adolf Reed be so good at diagnosing the problem, and then they say, "Oh, just give that problem more power by voting for them"? Do you guys see how that makes no sense? And it seems like they do it because they get paid well to dissect our culture. That's their job as academics. But are they willing to risk their power by telling people to do the right thing? Yeah, I honestly do think Trump derangement syndrome played a giant part of that, right? Yeah. But the thing is, I'm not gonna let Noam Chomsky off because he always been the lesser two evil advocate. It is I think because of age and the fear of the fascist right, he lost his mind. Like, there's just so many things he said that just don't make sense. But go ahead, JB.
No, I mean, look, and you know, I was gonna talk about this when I was talking to Jordan Sheridan, but I didn't get a chance to. But it was still a good conversation. But people need to talk about this part where MLK was talking about the white moderate in his letter from the Birmingham jail, and people really need to take a deep examination of this. And you know, Dr. King said, "First, I must confess that over the last few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in the stride towards freedom is not the white citizens counselor or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate who is more, here's the point, devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is in the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is in the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you on the goal you seek, but I can't agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically feel that he can set the timetable for another man's equal ours freedom, who lives by the myth of time and who constantly advises the Negro or Black to wait until a more convenient season. The thing is that we're constantly being told, y'all just gotta wait. And even James Baldwin said so eloquently, like, how long must I wait on freedom? And I expressed this even to Jordan when I was talking to him earlier about being in a burning house and the fire department comes, and instead of grabbing a fire hose to put out that fire, they bring out a squirt gun and start trying to put out the fire with the squirt gun. And the thing is that for people who are very comfortable, who aren't in a fire with a burning building, to them it's like, oh, just wait a little bit longer. And the problem is they're saying, oh, all you got to do is do that. Meanwhile, they're talking about, oh, well, Trump is the worst of the worst, and Biden's doing every single thing that Trump did. Because realize that they're both two sides of the same exact coin. And here, don't take it from me. Take it from Biden's policies. Don't listen to what he says. Look at what he does. And when you look at what they do, then you start to see the resemblance. You're like, oh, snap. Like, look, kids are still in cages. Kids are still in cages. We have fracking. Sending money to selling certain weapons to Saudi Arabia for a proxy war in Yemen. sending weapons to Saudi Arabia for a proxy war in Yemen, supporting, Nazis, saying that they're good people on both sides, sending money to Nazis in Ukraine. Like, it's like, wait a minute. And let's be honest, people were fooled into voting for Biden. Some people saw how bad it was, how they were fooled, and they were like, oh man, I regret my vote. Some people are saying, we still have to do it. And mark my words. What is it? June, July, August, September, October. By October, in about 4 months, you're going to hear, this is the most important election of your lifetime. You have to vote blue because the Republicans are going to win. I'm going to let you in on a little secret right now. I want you to come close to the screen. Come closer. The Republicans have already won because the Democrats already chose that the Republicans are going to take over. They basically warmed the seat for them. Hey, Sabs, welcome back.
No, I was going to say, like, the Democratic Party would have rather had Trump win again than Bernie Sanders win again. They want like corporate people in power. And that's why, like, someone like Bakari Sellers, here he is out here shilling for Israel. That's why, like, you saw he endorsed Nina Turner last year, but you notice this time around he did not endorse Nina Turner because that's not what the Democratic Party wanted. Now you have someone like Bakari Sellers endorsing a PAC against Rashida Tlaib, who's one of the members of the squad. So when they say that they want more people of color in Congress, they're talking about a certain type of person. They want people there that are corporate and that are going to go along with the status quo. So a lot of these progressives that are running into the Democratic Party this time around, when you compare it to 2018, they're going to have more of a difficult time because the Democratic Party has peeped that game. All they have to do is get big money to pour in, even if it's last minute, like they did with Nina Turner, like they've done with other people. They did this with Jessica Cisneros as well. And that's how they prevent them from winning. And this is going to continue to be a problem, right? So how do you combat that? And this is why I say, why would you want to go into a party that is actively working against you? And they're not even secretive about it. They're doing it out in the open.
And they playing a completely different rules than the progressives are. That show that one side really want to win, while other side just trying to stay comfortable and they want to be careerists. So why didn't AOC and the squad endorse Cori Bush the second time around? Why are they not endorsing all these progressive candidates? Because they're afraid of the blowback that come from the party. Because come from DCCC, they like, we should never support primaries. We need to support the incumbents. Meanwhile, remember Nancy Pelosi in the party supported the Kennedy against Ed Markey, and now you have Hakeem Jeffries going after Rashida Tlaib, right? So isn't it funny how the centrist part of the party, the right-wing part of the party, they actually playing to win, while the progressives are playing by rules that even the establishment are not obeying, right? So I think that's very telling.
Yeah. And, if I was the squad, I mean, I don't know how they feel right now, but they went along with their game and decided not to endorse Nina Turner because they were threatened that the Democratic Party would come out against them, right? That they would lose their committee assignments, that they would actually primary challenge them and help them lose their races. And so they went along with that. Yeah. And the Democratic Party is still putting out PAC money against them in these races. And I also want to add, too, it's important for people to know AOC didn't endorse Cori Bush the first time around.
Let me ask you this, Sabs, and please give me your political analysis on this. After seeing how the Democratic Party treats progressives and people like Nina Turner, why are people who already are elected to office in the squad, why haven't they switched their registration and their party affiliation from the Democratic Party to independent? They're already in office. Why haven't they did that?
Money. They're getting paid now. They're making six figures. That's what it's all about. They get paid now. And then also you got to remember all the perks that go along with being a member of Congress. They don't want to give those things up. So it's like, especially you think of someone like Cori Bush. Like Cori Bush came from poverty. She came from the Ferguson riots, actively on the street protesting against the police state, right? So Cori Bush still supports defund the police. And in her mind, she could be thinking, man, I don't want to go back to having to struggle. So there's a lot of perks that go along with being a member of Congress. And I think with DC, once you get in there and you get so deep in it, a lot of them don't want to let that go. And this is another reason why I think we need to have term limits, though, because you see someone like Dianne Feinstein, she's running again. This woman's like, what, 90?
She was there for the Emancipation Proclamation. But the thing is that here's the crazy. I shouldn't have said that. That's kind of ageist. I apologize. But no, I apologize. I shouldn't have said that. But here's my question though. Whether they still have that party official affiliation or not, they're still in, like, for instance, let's say they wait until after November, they win their re-election, they're still in Congress. Why not drop the Democratic Party like a bad habit and just say, you know what, I'm no longer in the party, I'm now an independent? Like, why not do that?
Because they don't. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. And might I remind everybody, next year is 2023, which means that after 5 years, a junior Congress member also gets their pension automatically for the rest of their life. So who was elected in 2018?
Yep.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Saps.
They don't want to go the way of Ralph Nader. They know what will happen if they do that. They're going to get a lot of pushback. They'll be ostracized. They'll probably run smear campaigns against them.
Bernie Sanders have grandkids, guys. Like, can we think about the human side? And I explained the human part of this before.
Mm-hmm.
Bernie is welcomed in the Washington D.C. social circle now. The Squad and AOC. Have you guys seen liberals' tweets about them? You guys have you seen how MSNBC talk about AOC and them now? They love them. The liberal class love them some AOC now. The average liberal is like, it's all about slave queen AOC. So you could be hated by what dominates the Washington D.C. culture. Like RBN, we are on the outside. Everyone who criticizes people, we are on the outside. They can insulate themselves in these Washington D.C. bubbles. Yes, they pissing out the grassroots base, but AOC don't give a fuck. Look at who they whining and dining with now. Look at who their friends. They are class loyal. That's why they won't trade their positions. Honestly, even if AOC became an independent and loses, she still would be taken care of just because her name brand. Like, she will always sell books. There's no chance of AOC ever being poor ever again. But why don't she portray the party? Because it's not only just about the money. It's about social comfort. Do you want to be a pariah that is not allowed to go to Washington, D.C. parties? Do you want to be a pariah that's not allowed to go to the Met Gala? So this is the humanization part of it. If you Bernie Sanders, do you want your entire family to be pariahs? Because you guys really think they will just stop at Bernie? If Bernie betrayed the DNC and destroyed billionaire power, his entire family, everyone he knows will be blacklisted. They'll all be treated like trash unless they openly betray the class, right? So I think it not only just take care of him, they can take care of the comfort of themselves, of their family, and that's very human, right? My criticism is, if you don't want the funk of finding the U.S. empire, you should not be taking world-class money, right? But on the human level, I get why they become corrupt, because Joe Biden is Bernie Sanders' friend, right? Nancy Pelosi and Ilhan Omar, remember that article we reported on a long time ago on how Ilhan Omar and Nancy Pelosi was getting along? They would have lunch dinners. Like Nancy Pelosi would call and check on Ilhan's family. Like there's a very human part of this corruption too that a lot of people miss. Like not just simply I just want to be rich. Not even just that. They just enjoying the Hollywood culture, the Hollywood lifestyle. So I think that's a big part of it as well, JB.
But I mean, I you know what, you're very right, and this is what I said to Jordan earlier. I said, some of these candidates, they need to become kamikaze candidates.
Yes,
basically go down swinging.
Have you guys heard case study QB's idea? I think Sabi talked about it before. You guys hear case study QB? Like I rip on electoral politics. I think it's a bad strategy, but I have no problem with his strategy. If you guys don't know, his strategy is we should be having long time running, never stopping mutual aid programs. And then these mutual aid programs, it has someone who just so happens to be on the ballot. Like that, and I talk about this idea with him on call-in. This is what I like about it. You just so happen to be on the ballot, but you still knocking door to door. You're still trying to win. But the dub itself is not that important. You're just giving people someone to vote for. But if you start selling out people like Nina Turner sell out Palestinians, John Fetterman sell out Palestinians, when you start selling people out in order to win, when you start voting for the U.S. domestic terrorism acts, like Bernie and the squad did, when you start doing that stuff in order to win, then people like RBN, we start questioning what is the point in the first place. So I actually am for this idea of we just engaging in mutual aid. We are helping organize strikes, taking care of people, and then we have someone who live in the area on the ballot. I love that idea because once again, it's not even dependent on us winning the race because we already put in work in the community. There's always there is a net positive. So I would look at you guys' thoughts on that. Cause I think that relates to what you're saying, right, JB? We got to not care about winning. That's what you're saying. We got to have kamikazes. People who don't necessarily care about their career. I think that's the step that we have, as long as we being disciplined in that approach as well.
Yeah,
and it could be something. Oh, go ahead, JB.
No, go ahead.
When we talk about like how they could come after their family members, it could be something as simple as Bernie Sanders' granddaughter applying for a job and getting blackballed over and over and over again, and getting blackballed because of what Bernie Sanders did. There's many ways that they can come after you.
Yes, great point, Sabi.
Yeah. And what I mean by kamikaze campaign is somebody that actually, they appeal to the people to win, but they focus on winning. And even if they don't win, it's like, okay, let's say hypothetically, there's no ballot access for anybody to run independent or third party in your area. And you're like, I have to run Democrat. I have no choice. Okay, fine. All right. So this is when you run a kamikaze campaign. You get to the point where you're going to try to go in there and win. You're trying to try to do what you can to get in there. But even still, you swing and fight as much as you possibly can. And by fighting, I mean, you're naming names, you're calling press conferences, you're calling people out, you're calling the president himself out. You're using your bully pulpit to do it. And then even if you got into office, then you're like, you know what? I'm out of the Democratic Party. I'm no longer in the Democratic Party. I'm actually independent now. And then you keep fighting. And they may censure you and kick you out. But at least you got kicked out of the Senate or the House swinging. But the thing is that nobody is willing to do that. Well, now I shouldn't say nobody, but the ones who have been in there are not willing to do that because it's too comfy. Because once they get in that chair, it's like, oh, this feels nice. I don't know if I want to, maybe I can stick around. I could probably still do some good in here. And then they start to acquiesce a little bit to, some of what, was going on. Because let's be real, somebody like Nancy Pelosi probably thought the same thing back in 94, right after she was fighting for single payer health care. But next thing you know, she started to feel that. She's like, maybe I can become speaker one day. Maybe I can make real change that way. And then next thing you know, she drifts. They drift over and over and over. And next thing you know, they are where they are now. And the thing is that we've been watching the same process over and over. And this is why a lot of us have been saying, let's go into a different direction. But also, case study, very brilliant guy, sounds like a good idea.
I want to respond to this comment here because I always see a lot about FDR. I see your point, Sabi, but they couldn't get FDR out of office without a body bag because he was so populist. I also want to point out that was before political action committees. They didn't have PACs back then. Ralph Nader actually talked about this in an interview I discussed recently. He was talking about how back in the 60s and the 70s, he was able to fight General Motors. Ralph Nader was. And Ralph Nader said, well, I couldn't have done the things I did back then with the Congress that we have right now, because back then we didn't have PACs. So this is why the money coming in is so important. This is why the money is a problem, because it really controls all of it.
Yeah.
Let's get to some super chats too, if you guys want.
Yeah, definitely. I think I missed a couple.
Yeah. So let's get into some super chats. I don't know. Let's see where we leave off. I saw you guys reading. I'll just read from the bottom up, I guess. Thanks for the $2. Roger.
Roger.
Ran the show. Ran the show. Trump ran not to win, only to surprise. He won Kamikaze. Dude, I still believe that Trump didn't want to win that election. It just became it was they realized that they was ahead, and then they're like, oh shit, all right, let's try to win now. But they didn't really try to. It was the big rumor is, and I do say rumor because I just heard this flowing around. The rumor is that Trump wanted to run just so he can expand his profile, and then he was going to start a media network. And then he just so happened to be better than all the trash ass Republican candidates. I don't think even he anticipated that. But think about it. Do you think Trump ever going to come out and just say that? Do you think anyone in Trump's campaign was like, yeah, we didn't really want to win. We just wanted to create a... They will never say that. I just think the Republican field was so trash he accidentally won. Right? You guys got a take on that?
I think so too. I mean, remember the way he was calling out the other Republican candidates like during the debates? He was, what did he call? He said, Lion Ted and Sleepy. No, not Sleepy. What did he say about Jeb Bush?
Dude, it was so funny watching him roast those people, man. Because if you pay attention to a lot of liberals who had Trump derangement syndrome, who trying to pretend, like, bro, if you look at the people on that stage, their body count compared to Trump, I was like, bro, y'all want to see this? He's a reality TV star clown. Watching him roast Ted Cruz was hilarious. Watching him roast Jeb Bush, like liberals.
Lion Ted.
Guys, liberals complain about Russiagate. They're like, oh my God, Trump and Russia stole the election. Jeb Bush literally worked in coordination to steal the 2000 elections for his brother.
Yep.
But liberals was like, oh my God, Jeb Bush. Is it crazy? So anyway, I just had a blast. The only thing I'm at that. I had a blast watching Trump roast those fucking people. When
people say that, like when Trump was saying stop the count for 2020, sometimes I think people forget that like that race between Bush or W. Bush and Gore, the Republicans were saying the same thing.
So we have a few more super chats. Thank you for the $5. Buster Peak. Imagine being like that while still arguing people should take electoral politics seriously. Thank you for the $5. Absolutely. I think pretty much you commented on a certain part of the stream there. Thank you for the $2. Andy equals stream for your own home. Otherwise, sus. Thank you for that. Hopefully you checked your DMs, Sabi. Thank you for the $10 free for After Dark. The article's still up. Check your DMs. Sabi. There's two super chats I want to read from them. They left 2 super chats. Hi guys, I love your refreshing approach to politics, and I cheer every time you do a summit. Recently, I've noticed many of your vids only react to fault leftists. Why? I think that's a waste of energy. See, I definitely wouldn't. I don't differentiate. There's no difference between independent media and what you see in corporate mainstream media. I think that they provide the same role. So when I see people criticize MSNBC, that's no different than criticizing TYT and MSNBC, right? It's a media criticism meant to elicit conversations. So there are a lot of people who will watch those channels who we will bring them up. They find them on the algorithm. They see that we talk about them, and they'll be introduced to ideas they never heard before, right? So it's part of public discourse. And criticizing other independent YouTube channels is no different from what everyone do when they criticize CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News. Because a lot of these channels that we criticize, they actually get more views in the demo than corporate media. So of course we should challenge these people and challenge those ideas. And I do want to point this out. And I would love to get your guys' response on this, JB and Sabi. I did a video of me reporting on the ground on KC Tenants for the KC Tenants citywide union. We did streams covering mutual aid. We did streams covering socialist revolutionary thought, right? And I noticed those videos always get way less views. So I don't think it's fair to categorize saying that many like I most recently covered Israel and them assassinating Shireen Abdul Akleh, and that just so happened to be the lowest rated video on our channel. So I don't think it's accurate to say that's what we only do. It's just those are the videos that you guys watch.
Yep.
So that's not on us. I cover foreign policy and police violence more than anything. You guys click those videos. So and before I get you guys' reaction, I do want to read the other super chat. I think it relates. Website. I would like to see more productive vids highlighting the alternative. We had a third-party summit. So I'm saying you guys click these videos where we talk about independent media, but we do so many segments on mutual aid, police violence, income inequality, but those don't get clicks. That's just a fact.
Yeah. I actually did a show.
But go ahead, Jay.
I actually did a show. What was it? This weekend or no? I'm sorry, the last weekend, where I highlighted, a website that was done by Eric, Sabi's producer, that talks about the actual solutions of what could be done. So we talk about it. The thing is that sometimes these things aren't as sexy, so they don't get as much highlight. You know what I mean?
They don't get the clicks and the views. And same thing here. Like I had on activists that were part of the Cuyahoga County Jail Coalition, which is Nina Turner's district. They came on and talked about that whole event that they were working on and what was going on with the jail system in Cleveland. Those videos and the videos about policing that I do, those videos don't get as nearly as many views because that's not what people click on.
Me and Josana just had an activist that doing the same thing Rome did on the Outsider's View. We interviewed an activist that literally feeding people in his community, opening community centers. That was our lowest rated video that week. So guys, those videos are there. You guys just got to click on them. You guys just click on the videos that has YouTubers on them. And then you guys are like, why you guys just talking about YouTubers? Look, watch the other videos. We literally always do them. But anyway, that's why I leave up on that. Thanks for the 199. A proto-pack gutted Upton's Sinclair's campaign. Upton Sinclair's. Do you guys know who that is? Am I missing something?
That name sounds so familiar.
I'm missing that name. I'm blanking on.
Was a writer. He was a writer.
I like this idea. Just put Marjorie Taylor Greene and Vosh in the title and don't mention them in the stream.
Totally wow.
Oh, it's funny because it's true.
I did a video on Huey Newton that only got 1,300 views. Yeah, we still do them. We still do them. So I just think my putback on that comment is even the suggestion that we don't is ridiculous. So that's my pushback. We definitely hear it out, but I don't have to accept the premise, right? But anyway, any other super chats I missed? What else do we have? Thank you for so many of these recent live streams. These sheepdogs for the Democrats. Absolutely. We are not allowing it. 2022 is coming up. And I have noticed people they are sharpening their messages. Their messaging that they're planning on using the sheepdog people to the Democrat Party. A lot of rationalizations. That's what the David Sirota video is about. They were preparing. And we're not gonna handle it. Because if you're actually serious in building up third parties, right? Because they always ask, what is your strategy to get a third party off the ground? One of the key parts of getting a third party off the ground is criticizing people who vote for the two-party duopoly. We got to make the argument that idea is ridiculous. And this is what I was telling Holly Hawkins. Holly Hawkins went on my show and was like, yeah, I think Trump is worse than Biden. And I'm like, what kind of fucking strategy is that if you run in third party and you arguing that one party is better than the other? I vote third party because I legitimately, and I've made the argument many times, that both parties do the same thing, especially in my community. And I'm telling you guys, if I legitimately believed that one party was better than the other, I will vote for that party, right? That argument is just not true. It's just not true. So why, if you are an advocate of a third party, you really believe we need a third party, why will you ever justify lesser two evils? We should actively go after that. That's why Howard Hawkins failed. Because he was one of the people like, I think Democrats are just as bad. Okay, why would people vote for you then? If you're telling people that. And that's the message of our show. That's why we've been calling out these people that are trying to tell people to vote for Democrat, because that is actively harming our movement. It's not, oh my God, I just got this issue wrong. No, it's harming our movement.
Yeah.
That's why the Democrats running on funding the police more. That's why Biden is allowing Medicare costs to spike. They are shifting to the right because of your guys' strategy. But I know I'll let you guys chime in if you guys want to.
And Joe Biden said recently, like a day or two ago, JB, I don't know if you have the link. Let me know if you still need it.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's going to be done about the gas prices and the food prices. And he goes on to say more things too. I'll let JP post that video.
Yeah. Let me grab it right here. All right. And let me shrink that and let me enlarge this. That don't sound right the way I said it, but it's whatever. All right. I know I'm silly. I'm still high off of caffeine. So sue me. All right. And okay, so I'm gonna play this really quick and I'll meet y'all on the other side. Hang on, that's boom. Boom.
There's a lot going on right now, but the idea we're going to be able to, click a switch, bring down the cost of gasoline is not likely in the near term, nor is it with regard to food. There's a lot going on.
So basically, he said there's not like we can flip a switch. Basically, he said the idea that we're going to be able to click a switch, bring down the cost of gasoline, is not likely in the near term, nor is it with regard to food.
But they can flip a switch to give billions of dollars to another country.
Exactly.
They can also flip a switch to give $4 trillion to the stock market in order to prop it up in the beginning of a pandemic. They can do that in 2 shakes of a rabbit's tail, but we need, some assistance, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, we don't have enough money. We just can't do it. I'm sorry." The Republicans, the parliamentarian, Joe Manchin, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and that's the thing. It's always, there's a rotating villain whenever we want something, but when it comes to actually doing things for the super rich and for the corporations, guess what? The coffers are open.
Oh, Steve. I'll see if I can find Steve's other super chat.
I was trying to find it. Let's see. We got a lot of comments here, so I apologize, guys. We're not trying. I never intentionally skip super chats, guys. I'm not trying to do that. So I don't see it though.
Might have been further back. I'll look for it. I found it. I just started.
Okay. Hang on. Hold on. Would you consider Cynthia McKinney a kamikaze? She wound up blacklisted.
I can comment on that one. Yeah, I've interviewed Cynthia McKinney twice. Like, she was really one of the people, her and Dennis Kucinich and Ralph Nader, they were one of the ones that really did push back the way that we want the squad to do, right? And you see what happened with that. They pushed those people out. Cynthia McKinney said recently, I think this was last week she was on, she said recently that Maxine Waters explained to her, well, Cynthia, when Democrat leadership tells us to do something, we're going to do it. So that's the thing. Like, putting these progressives into Democratic Party, you need to, this is why I would really like to see shows like Majority Report, Breaking Points. Who else is doing this narrative? TYT. I would really like to see them interview Cynthia McKinney so she can explain to them the same thing she explained to me about why this strategy doesn't work, because she has firsthand experience being in Congress and she heavily pushed back. So much to the point, like, she called people out so much to the point that they smeared Cynthia McKinney. So it just, you got.
Did she run against Cuomo too?
Huh?
Did she run against Cuomo? Am I getting that wrong? Did she run against Cuomo?
No, that's Cynthia Nixon.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
Cynthia McKinney was in Congress for the state of Georgia. And she was in Congress twice. Now, she did it one term and then took a break, and then she came back again and did another term. But she was one of the ones that called out the not the hypocrisy, but the inconsistencies about September 11th. And they didn't like that. Like, she heavily pushed them on that. She was very anti-war. So they saw her as a problem. Same thing for Dennis Kucinich. And she ran for president, Green Party, 2008 against Barack Obama. And mainstream media didn't tell you about that. They were like, he could be the first black president. They didn't say anything telling you Cynthia McKinney could be the first black president. You see what I mean?
That is the same thing they did to Angela Walker. Angela Walker was literally the female vice president on the Green Party ticket. But they're like, Kamala Harris, the first ever female black vice president nominee. No, that's not true. Propaganda is crazy in this country.
And the nominee, and also Angela Walker also fit another hat. She was also queer. So according to liberals, she fit so many different hats, she would have been the first Black woman and queer vice president.
Yep.
But she didn't have the right kind of policies that they liked. She was too far to the left. She wasn't authoritarian enough for them.
She wasn't corporate.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about. Like, even the people who they say they're challenging the party, even though they're really not, they really don't want to get. You see what happens when you're Jill Stein. You see the establishment still attacking her. She was talking about this when we had on RBN. The establishment still try to go after her legally, right? Like they, like that's not the kind of enemy that AOC try to make herself of the establishment. Like, they play completely different roles, and I hope through our coverage that we can continue to expose that for you guys. So I'm gonna share this real quick. Not gonna be long. I just want to interject this thought, and I would love to see you guys react to this, right? Because this is their role, right? And I'm gonna cover the main story. I'm gonna get here soon. This is what the progressives, they here to get you think that change is possible within this party. Bernie ran on challenging the Democratic Party establishment, not being their PR bootlicker like here. Here's Bernie from last year. Biden's Medicare expansion is a step towards Medicare for all. So Bernie Sanders is pushing the Overton window to the right here.
And said you would destroy the Sith, not join them. Bring balance to the force, not leave it in darkness.
Nick, have you seen the article from Black Agenda Report about Bernie Sanders?
Oh, which one? Which one?
The one about why he didn't run third party?
Oh, if you have it, link it. We can cover after I do this little quick presentation if you want.
Okay, let me see.
So this is my friend. He always posts a lot of great stuff on Twitter. Big shout out to Spin and Venoms. And they're responding to he responded to this, right? Because this is what Bernie Sanders was hyping Biden up in his false promises to expand Medicare. So that's his role, to hype the party up. And I want to see his response to this, because we keep seeing Biden lie about his campaign promises. Then they will have like a weak ass statement, or they will say nothing in response, right? So this is the recent headline. This is the reason why I shared this to you guys.
Yeah. Biden
hikes Medicare prices and funnels profits to private insurers. So this is a direct. He was lying on his campaign. He lied about the fact that he said he's going to decrease Medicare age from 65 to 60. Now he is approving a sanction on the senior citizens in order to boost the profits of the people who donated to his campaign. And what did we say, Sabi? We said the idea that you guys believe that Biden's going to implement a public option or listen to the progressive agenda while he's taking big pharma money is beyond absurd. But this is what progressives told people what happened. So what are your guys' reaction to that?
We warned people that the premiums would increase as a result of this. Now you see.
The biggest grift of all time was the progressives that really thought it was going to change Jim Crow Joe, right? I had this headline because remember that 2020 super PAC that the same Bernie Sanders wing of his campaign that is now Democratic operatives that we are calling out, they started a super PAC where it was like, we're going to hold Biden accountable and we're going to push him to the left. Look, here's the old school receipt. This is from 2 years ago. I wanted to show you guys what their role was. Remember this? Sanders advisors formed super PAC to back Biden, push him left. Now, the reason why I'm sharing you this article from 2 years ago, because these are the same people we are criticizing now. Like this Bernie wing that apologized for the Democratic Party. And now, 2 years after this headline, I'm asking you guys, how have this worked out for you guys? A gift to Mitch McConnell. Biden HHS won't reverse Medicare premium hikes this year. A gift to Mitch McConnell. So how did pushing Mitch McConnell did more to get Biden on his side than the progressives? Do you guys see now why we're talking about revolutionary discipline? What are you guys' thoughts on this? I just want to interject this story. I had to cover it today.
Okay. As somebody who's going to be a victim of this, yes, I do get Medicare. And yes, my premiums are about to go up. Thanks, Joe Biden. Yes, we have to pay premiums for government-sponsored healthcare. Yeah. So with that being said, like pushing Biden left, that was, if that's pushing him left, well, yikes. Because, I mean, let's be real. It's not going to happen. It never was going to happen. And, you know, Joe Biden, people are now realizing this. And it's like, but we were telling y'all this from the get-go. I mean, you know, we've been saying it for like a year, right?
And this is why I've been wanting you guys to reframe how we report these issues on the left. Because, like, this is not just Joe Biden not following through on a campaign promise that prevent this from happening. Like, now this is a historic price hike of Medicare. This is a sanction on senior citizens on behalf of the Biden administration. Because they could stop this. They are choosing not to. So when I often steal the empire's spooky language. So this is a sanction on the working class.
Yeah.
And it should be reported as such. This is why the idea that we should support a party that is sanctioning senior citizens should be a non-starter. Let me see if I can find a good chart for you guys. Sabi, you have anything else you want to add? And we can move on because I just want to share that story real quick.
I want to make the connection between
the Bernie. I'm gonna show the article too after you get done too.
Cool. Yeah, so some of the things have been said about Bernie Sanders, like, you know, why would he say things like Joe Biden's doing a good job, things like that. Bernie Sanders had been, you know, compromised a long time ago. If you watch some of Bernie Sanders' old videos from like the 70s and the 60s, you'll see like that was like the revolutionary, like Bernie Sanders. But Bernie Sanders that we have now today, he's just not revolutionary. And Black Agenda Report did a really good article years ago called Bernie Out of the Closet, Sanders' long-standing deal with the Democrats. And I thought this was a really good read. A subscriber sent this to me and I was like, well, damn.
I wish I would have knew more about these criticisms back then. Like I remember I heard Chris Hedges' criticism and I thought he had some good points. But like I wish I read more of these stuff back in the day. But go ahead, Sabi. I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, so basically what they're saying here, and I think they mentioned Chris Hedges. Yeah, they do mention him in here. If you go to the first paragraph, Nick, I'm glad that the left intellectual activist Chris Hedges does not support Bernie Sanders' campaign for the Democratic Party presidential nomination. As Hedges explained in a recent interview on Ralph Nader Radio Hour, Sanders' candidacy lends undeserved credibility to the thoroughly corporatized Democratic Party. Sanders has pledged that he will support the corporatist military hawk Hillary Clinton in the 2016 general presidential election. Sanders stirs up legitimate progressive energy and popular anger and then funnels it back into a dead political system. And it goes on, like there's more in the article too, where they give examples about what he does. And then there's the Sanders 1990 deal with the Dems. Sanders did not fight the Democratic establishment in Vermont his entire career. As the left university as the Left University of Vermont philosopher Will Miller noted in 1999 essay recounting left peace activist occupation and then U.S. Congressman Bernie Sanders' Burlington, Vermont office to protest Sanders' support of the NATO bombing of Yugoslavia and the ongoing U.S. war in Iraq. Sanders sold out to the corporate and war Democrats as early as 1990.
Can I add a point to that?
Go ahead.
In fact, Michael Parenti himself, who was friends with Bernie Sanders, talked about that and talked about his extreme disappointment with Bernie Sanders because him and Bernie Sanders were coming up at the same time and they started to run. They were running together. But Michael Parenti didn't win, but Bernie Sanders did because they actually wanted Bernie Sanders. So Michael Parenti actually could have been in government too, but he was too far to the left for them.
Oh, I didn't know that, JB.
Do you want to see? Yeah. Do you want to see Michael Parenti's criticism that was on point?
Ooh, please.
And remember, I explained it before. I told you guys, young Bernie was a motherfucker. I had a viral tweet back in the old day, like a long time ago. I had a viral tweet I literally showed the old quotes of Bernie Sanders, and I was like, bro, I miss old Bernie Sanders. Fuck anyone. I don't care what anyone. He used to call out the CIA operations in South America, Operation Condor. He used to call Ronald Reagan imperialism. And he used to say, we should never, ever run in the Democratic Party. Hell no. Nah. That was his stance. And he changed in the 90s. And I remember back when I used to be a big Bernie supporter, those old quotes used to yeah, this man legit. I wish I would have paid more attention to that flip in the 90s. These are the one things I learned more as I gained more revolutionary discipline and knowledge as my time as an activist. So let's listen to Michael Parenti. And by the way, guys, Michael Parenti is the person you should be listening to instead of Noam Chomsky. Michael Parenti over Noam Chomsky all day. Because even with Noam Chomsky's great criticism of the empire, he would never criticize Western society and capitalism. Michael Parenti went direct. There were a lot of academics that you would get blacklisted if you didn't espouse anti-communist rhetoric. So Noam Chomsky, even with his criticism of the U.S., he would still have strong anti-communist. See, look at JB. Look at my man JB. See, anyway, I'm rambling too much. My point is, Michael Parenti is based because he did not buckle to academic pressure, which cost his career later in life. And I would love to give him on, but unfortunately, he's having a lot of cognitive decline, and that's why you don't see him in a lot of interviews no more. Even in this clip I'm gonna show you, you can kind of see it a little bit. But let's watch this video. It's a little bit long. It's only about 5 minutes, but I do think it's a good watch if you guys want to stick with it. So.
I'm really excited to have you here. Hearing you speak, you remind me a lot of a presidential candidate that's out there hitting the show right now, and I'd like to hear what your take was on Bernie Sanders, because as a former combat veteran, someone who studied you, now I follow the man. His stump speeches sound a lot like what you were talking about tonight. So what is your take on Bernie Sanders?
So the question is, what is Dr. Parenti's view of Bernie Sanders?
Well, Bernie and I were very close friends for years. He'd come over my house when I lived in Washington, D.C. He came with his son once, and my son was visiting me. I made them dinner. Bernie and I both ran on the Liberty Union ticket in Vermont. I ran for the House of Representatives. Vermont has only one congressman, so you can't get gerrymandered out. But it meant I'd go up and down the whole state, and I got 7% of the vote. Bernie ran for Senate, U.S. Senate. He got 2% of the vote. Not that I'm trying to be committed. And very close to Bernie. His last words to me, I remember when he came to, where the hell was it? In Washington, I think it was. No, it was right in Berkeley, California, when I was living there. Bernie came to Oakland, and he said, "Where have you been? I haven't seen you. Stay in touch with me." I said, "Sure, I will, Bernie." But then came the Yugoslav war, and Bernie sided with President William Clinton and supported the bombing of Yugoslavia, 78 days and nights. depleted uranium, which has left Serbia today with the highest cancer rate in all of Europe. I vigorously opposed that war and wrote a book about it called To Kill a Nation, the attack on Yugoslavia. And Bernie, as I told Huck was a good friend. I forget Huck's last name. He was a professor from the university who took a leave to go work in Bernie's office when Bernie was now in the House of Representatives. Bernie went to the House of Representatives. He got elected mayor of Burlington and then House of Representatives and then the U.S. Senate. And now he's doing this try for the presidency. What was I saying just now?
What do you think of his campaign? And what do you think of his bid for the presidency?
No, no, there was something I wanted to say about this. I hate when this happens. When I get tired, that's what starts happening.
You guys slid over the Yugoslav war.
Yugoslav war, yeah. I said he's standing shoulder to shoulder with NATO and the CIA and the White House and Bill Clinton and these creepos for a war against these people like this. I said and that's when I broke with him. I stopped sending contributions. I stopped. Furthermore, his salary was way bigger than what I was making. And so when I saw that he was running, and I put on the little thing to see some of the events with 10,000 people, I must admit, I sat there and it was very touching and I was so happy to see it. I was very happy to see Bernie getting up there, 10,000 people, and the powers that be have to deal with him in some way now. It's like a big blister in the way, and they got to deal with him and say, well, blah, blah, blah. And mostly they don't say too much. They just concentrate on Donald Trump, yeah, I think it's great. The trouble is he's still not saying anything about foreign policy. He's still not criticizing. The empire feeds off the republic. We don't need an empire with 70 military bases, 700 military bases all over the world. We don't need to be fighting 2, 3, 4, 5 wars all at the same time. This is crazy. That's all. Bernie hasn't said a word about those things. He hasn't. He's just not said anything about it. So he's good on local issues. He's really, I think he's a liberal Democrat. He's not a socialist or not even really a left progressive. He's just sort of he'd be a good liberal Democrat. But look at what he says. He says, and we want the rich to pay their share too. What do you mean? We want to stop having the rich rule our lives and rule our minds. That's what we want. And I think he could do a lot better on that. And he's going to have to say, it's not just me. I was alone years ago about his position on foreign policy, but a number of other people have brought it up now too. So he will have to start saying something about foreign policy, which would put him at odds with the national security state boys who play for keep. When you get into arguments with them, you got to be careful about your plane crashing or your car skidding and going off the road, or a lone assassin coming over and killing you, as John Lewis happened to him.
Guys, you guys should see Michael Parenti, man. If you guys see Noam Chomsky is good. Michael Parenti is that, especially when he was at his prime. Like even then, that video you can see a little bit of the cognitive decline. I'm gonna see if I can find another video, but Michael Parenti was that guy, and that was his criticism of Bernie. That's the same criticism we hear from Chris Hedges. That's actually the same criticism we heard from Dr. Cornel West on our show. Even on our show, he said that Bernie is weak on imperialism. And you guys know my very easy bar where I call someone a leftist, anti-imperialism, anti-capitalist, which is why a lot of people think I'm being harsh when I say Bernie is not a leftist, he's not a socialist. But there, Michael Parenti is saying it. He's a liberal Democrat by all definitions. But Sabi, JB, I would love you guys in. I just want to show that video because I love that one.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think people misunderstand when Bernie says he's a democratic socialist. I think some people misunderstand that. Like, hearing Michael Parenti say like he's basically like a liberal like Democrat. I mean, when you look at Bernie's takes on foreign policy now, with the exception of the war in Iraq, right? Like him and Barbara Lee were the only ones I think that voted against that. But other than that, what is Bernie Sanders doing? Now he's an independent, right? So this is that example that CJ gave about how someone who's an independent or a third party politician that's in the House or the Senate, how they can actually hold their vote to get something that they want in exchange in order to go along with the Democrats. Bernie Sanders is an independent. When does he do that? He doesn't do it. Like, they need his vote, right? So why does Bernie Sanders automatically always go with the Democrats, even when it's something that he knows is not progressive and is not beneficial to the American people? For example, that $40 billion that went to Ukraine. Why did Bernie Sanders support that? If he's supposed to be this Democrat, and I hate that term, but like this democratic socialist, if he's really a socialist, why did he support that? He doesn't use his title, like his independent title, the way that he should. He doesn't leverage it, and he could leverage it, especially when you have the close numbers that you have in the Senate right now. The Democrats need Bernie Sanders to vote along with them. If Bernie Sanders didn't, then they would be pointing fingers at him, just like they do Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin. So Bernie Sanders should be using that for some type of leverage. Hey, if you want me to vote with you on this legislation, you're going to have to give me this. You need to bring Medicare for all to the floor for a vote. Why isn't Bernie Sanders doing that? It's him and Pramila Jayapal's bill.
And
he could force a vote for Chuck Schumer.
Yep.
Yeah, and that is the heart of Parenti's criticism. He got into a little bit there, but you see how he's like, you see how Bernie Sanders, he just advocates for taxing the rich, which, guys, to be clear, that is a good reform on our way to get socialism. But what he is arguing is, if you're a socialist, we need to be arguing about seizing the means of production, because if you're arguing for just taxing the rich, that's you literally giving ground by implying that their gains are legally obtained. Even though the socialist position is this is stolen labor value. So our position is, like, once again, I do want to be clear, like, taxing the rich is a good way to get to social democracy and eventually get to the socialist and communist state we want. But what we should be calling for is the production value, seizing the means of production. And that was the criticism that Bernie quickly got on there. I wanted to share this. It's only a 1-minute video of Michael Parenti, since we're nerding out on Parenti. So let's share this last video, and then we can wrap the Parenti segment up, and I'll pass it to you guys. I just love this video just to show you guys who are not familiar, like how Michael Parenti was when he really was in his prime. He still was good there. Trust me, I'm not trying to bash him. He was really good there, but in his prime, Michael Parenti was a guy they had to blacklist. Like, you think they blacklist No Chomsky? They definitely blacklisted this guy.
Oh yeah, this one. Yeah, this is good.
But that expropriation of the third world has been going on for 400 years, brings us to another revelation, namely that the third world is not poor. You don't go to poor countries to make money. There are very few poor countries.
Yep.
We love us some Michael Parenti here. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. So I'm gonna pass to JB and Sabi if you guys want to add or share anything.
Sabi?
I was going to add about the countries being overexploited. Did you guys see, and I can't find it now, but did you see that the Progressive Caucus actually tweeted out that now they're trying to, I think it's Pramila Jayapal that's leading this, they're trying to get the U.S. out of funding Saudi Arabia for the genocide in Yemen. Did you guys see? Let me see if I can find it. I mean, it's kind of late. This been going on for like 7 years.
Yeah. It's a day late and a dollar short, and an administration late.
Yeah, I mean, they already made their money now. See, this is the thing.
Also, sorry, Sabi. Also, because I've been reading on Yemen as well, there have been a lot of ceasefire attempts, and the reason why they have to do a lot of these ceasefire because the population is being starved to the point where they like, we literally got to pause this. So that's another reason why you're seeing this scale back, because the U.S. empire already feel like they accomplished their goal here, and they are trying to shift back to the new Cold War. So this is also an extension on the fact that even Saudi Arabia is trying to pull this back a little bit because it's becoming too costly and they're not really achieving their objective, because the Civil War itself, they have been at like this stalemate in a way where it's literally just leading to civilian conflict. That's why they had this ceasefire they had earlier this year. So sorry, Sal, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to add that context because that's also why you're seeing the U.S. empire a little bit more open to ending this conflict, because their allies, Saudi Arabia, is already starting to pull back. There already been ceasefire negotiations between both of the war and conflict. So I just want to add up, and not because the U.S. is like, oh my God, we got to stop this. No, because the operation's already over. That's why you guys say they were too late. They were late on this. It's not that they're late. They already done. They're done with their pillaging. They're done with their objective. They're moving on. So, but sorry, sorry, Sabi. I won't pass back to you. I just want to add that context.
Right. No, this is incredibly important. Breaking, a bipartisan group of nearly 50 members of Congress just introduced legislation to invoke constitutional war powers to end unauthorized United States military involvement in Saudi Arabia's brutal war in Yemen. And then this is the part that I think people need to pay attention to. The resolution led by Representative Peter DeFazio, Representative Jayapal, Representative Nancy Mace, and Representative Adam Schiff comes 7+ years after unauthorized U.S. participation began. So it's like, again, like you've already destroyed, the country is destroyed. Like JB, I know you talked about this before. You show pictures of what it looks like now, like in Yemen, all the damage that has been done. Like, oh yeah, so you destroyed their country and now you want to just back off and just leave those people to live in that rubble?
And then they're going to take political credit for this too. And I'll pass it back to you, JB. And this is what I was asking this question. Like, we're about 2 years in the Biden administration. Bernie Sanders introduced this resolution under Donald Trump. So I was asking, like, why are you guys doing it under Joe Biden? Is it because you guys are afraid to veto it? Sorry, but JB, I want to get you in and I'm going to show you guys a receipt that's very important to note on this story. But go ahead, JB.
Yeah. My question is, where was this when cameras were literally in the Oval when Donald Trump was sitting there with Mohammed bin Salman and actually doing the sale of the weapons to Saudi Arabia years ago? Where was this? Because Donald Trump was literally showing them the pictures of selling the weapons to Mohammed bin Salman, who was sitting right there. And they could have said, yo, we got to stop this. They could have led a protest outside for this. They could have did everything. And now, years later, y'all just, now we need to end it. Like,
look at this. Guys, I'm telling you, it's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. Look at this. Just so you guys have a little more background. They had a truce. So the Saudi oil boost, Yemen truce, set stage for Biden's visit to the kingdom. So Saudi Arabia took steps Thursday to boost oil production and extend a truce with Iran-backed forces in Yemen. So this, and I'm adding this because this is not the establishment, this is not the progressive standing up to the empire. This is something that already been in production. So they already was saying ceasefires and trying to walk back and set peace in the region. So now they trying to come out like, let's stop the conflict now. Isn't that some shit, Sabi? Like, bro, look, and this is ad blocked by I think the first paragraph is good enough because they trying to get more oil for Saudi Arabia. They're like, God, chill, and then they realize they don't have much interest left in the region left. The people within Yemen want to focus on the humanitarian crisis and rebuilding because they've been at the stalemate for 7 years. So they were like, what's the point in continuing this? Right. So now the U.S. want to come in like, see, we want to stop the genocide in Yemen. The Progressive Caucus, they got their cue. Let's put this. Let's come out against it. Right. But anyway, sorry, I'll get baby back in there.
No, this is ordering your food. It comes to your table. You eat almost the entire plate, and then you're like, "Oh man, I hate the food. The food was cold. Can you guys comp my meal?" Like, what? What? Are you kidding me? Y'all done ate the entire plate already. It's done. And then you're talking about how it was terrible. Oh yeah, it was terrible. But you ate the entire plate, and now you want us to comp the meal? Like, come on. Like, who do you think we are? Like, let's get real. Like, that's what it's like, man. And they're like, well, we just, that's like going to Disney World and spending an entire day at Disney. And then you're like, oh, man, I had a really bad time here, even though you did everything that you wanted to do. And then you're like, can you guys give us some comp tickets? Because we really didn't like the experience.
Basically.
Y'all done did everything y'all wanted to do.
I mean, what are they going to do to restore? What are they going to do to restore that country?
So stupid.
I think the U.S. empire should be paying reparations to them, Palestinians, obviously our community. Like, I want the people that believe the U.S. empire has a lot to pay for. And reparations for descendants of slavery in our countries. I think the people who was violated at ICE detention camps should get reparations. The Palestinians should. Yemen, dude, our empire owes them so much. So, with that said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this megathon of Revolutionary Blackout on Thursday live. I want to get Sabi and then JB in here. Anything you guys want to plug or promote before we wrap up?
Yeah, in about an hour, you'll see me and JB and Glory, and I think Rob Jordan might be on there too. On Frank Analysis show, where he's doing a panel about guns in this country. This is coming after the school shooting in Texas. So join us in about an hour over there for that. And then I'll be back tomorrow for the Sabi Sab show, and I'll also be on my channel later on tomorrow night, as well as calling.
Yep. And of course, I'll be there with Sabi on Frank Analysis a little bit later. But also, if you guys would like to tune in to my channel and the JB Font channel, I'm going to have, Delilah Barrios, who's running for governor of Texas for the Green Party. I'm actually going to be talking to her this Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we're going to be having a conversation with her. And because I always talk about, if we're going to talk about third parties, we also need to, give information and talk about them. So I want to put my money where my mouth is and basically have her on as the first initial person in a third party, so we can talk about, more third party people, especially local politics as well.
Yay, Delilah.
I'm trying to find a link. I don't have anything really to promote. I wanted to, I didn't have it. I lost the link, but me and Rome, we are doing a diaper giveaway and a barbecue event in Kansas City. So that's the only thing I'm really going to promote. So everyone ask us what our solutions for, what should we do about this society and the system that we live under, despite us talking about all these issues. I think this is the most important part, building a community, advocating for mutual aid, because people need direct relief right now. And then once we get people the relief they need, then we can really start becoming militant, because people will have their material needs taken care of. Then we can really start organizing strikes. We can really start pushing for big change. That's my vision of what the left. So please donate and support Rome. He's our brother doing a lot of this amazing work. And this will help us fund this diaper giveaway and barbecue that we're doing in the community here. Already had a few comrades reach out to me that's going to be attending as well. Some local comrades in the region, some people that may drive. So I'm really looking forward to meeting a lot of you guys. Looking forward to meeting a lot of my RBN brothers as well and doing work for the community. So make sure you guys not only just listen to these streams and get upset. I want to tell you guys, just like Zoya said all the time, we need action. We need people to actually start engaging in mutual aid. Stop donating to these politicians. Stop thinking that these people are going to save you. We have community power, and that is the message I want to end with you guys with. So I'm trying my best to engage in all these local events, mutual aid in Kansas City, helping Casey tenants out with their citywide union. These are things that are my focus, and I implore you guys, look into your local area and see what you can do. We are trying our best with the limited resources that we have, and we are going to continue to do that. The date is July 10th. I saw someone ask that July 10th. And more details will be available as we get closer. So that's the sending off message that we have. Do some work in your community. Love each other. Don't allow the mainstream media to divide us. Right. So thank you guys for watching. And support the Patreon as well. That's another great way to support the channel. And Sabi and JB will be back later tonight on their special live stream they're doing. Who was it with you guys again? Sorry, I'm blanking. What was it on Sabi again? So they
we'll be on Frank Analysis channel.
Frank Analysis. Okay, yeah. So Frank Analysis. Yeah. So they'll be back. JB got a long day today. Love putting big work today. So thank you guys for watching. Revolutionary Blackout sign out. Have a great day, guys.
Bye-bye.